All right, SCL's live. We are going to watch it live, but we have the ability to pause. Thank you to Marcus, I believe. Thank you, Marcus. So we're going to check this out. This is the Tech Talk. This is the Benoit Talk. But again, it's titled Tech Talk. This isn't going to be a whole, like the original Benoit Talk was a Tech Talk, but it was also like, hey, man, the game's in a really bad state. We're going to fix it. And they did. They fixed what they said they were going to fix. Elevators are broken. They got the elevators working. So it all felt good. Every other Benoit thing that we've done is like, hey, the game's in a bad state. We're going to fix it. And I think a lot of people feel that the current state of the game is not feeling great. So let's see what they have. Let's get on with it and see what we got here.
So I had this plan.
Yeah. Again, they changed the set.
And we're not going to... Look,
I think to distract
what this show was going to be and whatnot. You and I, we've been doing this every quarter for the last, since the big change, the beginning of last year. We started, the February of 2025 and stuff like this.
How's the volume?
Got that show, and we're still going to do a bunch of that show.
I could turn it up a little bit,
but we just put 481
low.
481.
All right, let me try it.
481, 482. We just put 482 out yesterday. I've got you. We're live.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, it started with an attempt at a bug fix a month
Is that better?
ago. So with this 4.8 release and the way we've been doing patches this year, we have 2 streams when we work off from the working set. We have a base stream that we use for the base release, so 4.0, and we have a hotfix stream where we bring all the continuous changes along.
They're too
So there was
close
an
to each
attempt
other,
at
so
bug
they're
fixing
whispering.
something on the Idris that was actually creating some performance issue somewhere else that was checked into that stream and nobody saw it, and it went through. So we've been on the hotfix stream now for 4.8.1, now going to 4.8.2. In 4.8.2 we went back to the base stream, which are supposed to be at parity at this point, except additional content. Because
Okay, hold on. This is about the Idris being turned off right now, and they're talking as if it's like somebody died. Yeah, like somebody in chat just goes, "Am I at a wake?" What? Guys, there aren't that many Idris owners. Are they like beholden? Like this feels like a. Are they so beholden to people who buy big ships that this has to be like this? Oh my God, we're so sad. We're so sorry because we turned your single seater, like the best single seater, the best starter ship in the game, off for a day.
We've added additional content in the patch. That change was included, and so what's supposed to be
Like, oh my, I'm sorry for pausing here. I know I don't want to pause that much today. I really don't, because it's going to be a long episode. Guys, the Idris being turned off is the least of all of your problems, and starting the show off with that doesn't feel right to me. It feels really fucked up. Yeah, I don't want to pause because of a weird comment, because we're going to be here for 6 hours. Yes, but can we just talk about that for a second here? We're starting the show off because of they turned the Idris off.
routine update.
Not all the other
became
problems.
a massive, wide sprawling issue because basically the Idris was no longer compatible with its persisted copy. And so what that would do is players have in their ASOP terminal, they have a version of the Idris that's from 4.8.1.
Like, I don't own an Idris. Who
This
cares? Most
change,
people
which
don't
was
own
not
an
supposed
Idris.
to
Who
be
cares?
in the stream at all, gets in there. And so now the game server is expecting another shape for this. The game server has a series of checks and balances for this, but he's the last banker in the chain. And so for him, if the schema is incompatible,
who the hell
he's like,
cares?
there's data corruption risk, I'm out. And so
Who's he in this analogy?
he's the game server,
Okay.
basically, right? So the game server is trying to spawn the Idris wherever it is, right? So that's called the async spawn chain. And so as he's trying to resolve the object containers for this and to materialize the ship in game, he comes around an incompatibility. And then there's a hard check for this, because if we let those through, if we disarm this check, for example, then the game server might corrupt ships or might be twisting data, and then we would go wider than that. And so the game server would crash. So
there's all this. So there's all this stuff that we
can't with
have
this
to
right
work
now.
on and fix.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff that we are working on and fixing. And yesterday in a patch that
You guys are missing up why they're bringing the address. I ignored your first comment because it's just wrong. And I'll read it now just because you keep saying it. It's not about the address per se. It's that the address is causing major problems for everybody. I'm so confused here. Was the issue yesterday? Now, I'm thinking that you're talking about performance issues, but now I think I understand what you're saying. It's because when they came back from the thing, but when they came back from the downtime that the servers were bad, and then the servers kept crashing, and they have to answer for that. Is that what you mean by this? Okay, I mean, again, whatever.
was just supposed to add, the two new GATAC ships.
They don't do
and
this when
some
other
hot
things
fixes
cause
to
constant
some of the more
crashes.
persistent
bring back the
issues.
odd fixes from the odd fix branch and move forward.
Completely unrelated check-in to the Idris
Yes.
somehow made it through validation or missed validation.
Correct.
It's like this, got in, and now the server, which is still built, the persistence records, which are still built on 481,
Yes.
and expecting a 481 version of the ship.
Also 480 because
480.
they're compatible.
Really? Okay. So it's expecting a 480 version of the ship, got a 482 version of the ship without knowing that there was supposed to be a difference, and just went, all right, I'm gonna head out.
That's right.
You did the SpongeBob meme.
Yeah, and so every time an Idris would be attempted to spawn, that server in that region would crash, and then restart, and then try to load the Idris again, and then crash again. And so as players were unstowing more Idrises and more shards, more servers got affected, until you reach a point where now the ops team is in the background.
But again, this
They're
is like the
lighting all
least of
fires,
the problems.
like the Rohan.
Like-
Yeah, you were
calling the Rohan.
I saw you online at like 3:30 this morning.
Yeah. And so we're looking at this, and basically we start cordoning off shards because at the beginning we're not sure what the issue is. So we start cordoning off shards, and what happens in this case is like the more shards are getting offline, the less capacity we have for players that are either entering the game or shard hopping. We have a lot of people shard hopping, and so what happens is they hit the dreaded 60,012 error, which means hey, there's no capacity in your zone. There is capacity, but we've had to restrict it in the meantime. And so we took a hard decision later in the night to prevent players from spawning Idrises temporarily, just to kind of stop breaking other shards. We brought more shards online to keep that playing. And then we basically went through and manually
It's such a hard decision,
rectified,
by the way.
That's what we call percussive maintenance. When you see that in the status, it means we went in and we did a drastic measure to basically fix the Idrises that were either spawned in shards or still left in inventories to make sure that they had the proper schema. And so now we know that all the Idrises are fine. We've lifted that temporary stoppage for that ship. And so now we're back. That's what happened.
Completely out of left field. Absolutely unrelated to all the stuff that we're working on, the stuff that the patch was supposed to be.
How could we
and
have
whatnot. This is-
possibly known?
This is Cabret trays being spawned by
Guys, game development. It's so hard.
some subcomponent in the Idris cargo room.
It's a
And it's
2-hour
not
show.
even
They'll
anything
talk about the rest of
specific.
the
In this
issues.
case, it's the Idris, but it's not because it's a capital ship or anything. It's just
No, it could have been any ship in that case. So normally there's a check-in discipline that we apply, especially this year, because we have a different publishing model this year. And so ships that have been distributed already in a given major, minor patch cannot be modified. Now, for some reason, this check-in passed all the validation check and ended up in the build.
This is. We're gonna get to the show proper, guys, with what happened last night and Benoit up until all hours of the night. To say this is frustrating is
Understatement.
an understatement. It's I'm gonna give you some time. We're gonna get into the show proper, and then I'm gonna come back at some point about why is this happening and whatnot. It's if I've got you here, I've got you guys here. I'm gonna. We have to get into it. We have to get into it.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and get started with the show. Hi everybody. It's a very weird start to the show. I'm Jared. I'm the content director for Cloud Imperium Games, Proper Space Industries, and the host of Star Citizen Live, which is the show that you're watching right now. Approximately every quarter for the last year and a half, we have a show where we have a scheduled show where we have our chief technical.
Your pick.
Well, I'm way off the whole script today.
Yeah.
The chief technical officer, Benoit, on the show to discuss what is essentially the current technical state of the game. Now, I want to be real clear. This is about the technical state of the game.
Yeah.
Design
I'm not gonna enjoy this
issues or
episode.
content issues or whatnot, not the realm of the people that we have on today.
I don't care about
Joining
the
us
tech.
on the show today,
Typically.
because we kept threatening to do it, and we wanted him last time and whatnot, and it's like he made the mistake of promising, I'll be on the next one,
Yeah.
is our director of programming, gameplay programming, or gameplay engineering, gameplay
He was on
programming.
a
Jens,
sitcom, right?
Both of them.
both at the moment. And we're here to talk about 4.8, 4.81, 4.82, like this, the current technical state of the game. Now, 4.8 at this point went out about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
About 4 weeks ago. There was a lot of really great stuff. Before we just had a couple unscripted minutes about some bad stuff, and we're going to get to more challenging stuff in a minute. Let's talk a little bit about how 4.8 did. I saw there was a lot of commentary online that 4.8 was as bad as 3.18 and
Which
whatnot.
is
We don't need to
fucking
rehash
stupid.
3.18 whatnot. Most people watching the show knows 3.18 at this point. Was it really as bad as 3.18? No. Or talk to me about what's your take on how 4.8 went.
Well, for me, if I take from the machine room side of things,
Yeah.
we've been firefighting since we launched 4.8. I mean, from a whole slew of different issues. Some of them are to be expected when we launch a patch that has this many amount of core changes. Like 4.8 has, we've touched on systems that are really central to the traversal again. So we're talking about the entitlement system, which has not changed in years at this point, and we've completely overhauled the entitlement system in 4.8 to power, in part, the item imprint system, but more importantly, to pull the entitlements out of the patch cycle and persist them.
So there was a big
across
technical
patches. So
change.
what we call the LTP layer is not just what you have in your inventory.
Never
it's also what you
communicated
own.
it though.
Your ships and all of the items that you purchase in game now have an entitlement record that holds the insurance loadouts for it, all of the customizations that you make out of it, and that's hosted outside the game, not outside the game, but outside the game patch, which means that when we come back from a patch, there's no risk of, oh, I'm not getting my ship back, right? What you see in ASOP in the first patch will be exactly the same data source in the second patch, and so that risk of like losing ships across is completely gone. And so we're very happy. In fact, that bit actually went
Losing
very well in
ships.
4.8, even though up
Not
to
saying crafted
the
stuff
launch
yet.
it was, there's always last minute things to look at. But we have been firefighting across a multitude of different issues that were tangential to that. Some of them we can touch on a little bit because I've made some notes to talk about gameplay systems here and why they were affected by some minor infrastructure issues that turned out to be massively contributing to the perception of the patch. So I'll talk a bit about that in a bit, but basically we've been firefighting since 4.80. I want to touch on one thing because we just had a one off the cuff moment about the Idris last night, right? But 2 weeks prior to that, we had another downtime patch that
down
needed
for
a lot of
fucking 18
rectification. So
hours.
the people that the teams that run the online group were hard at work on this maintenance. And unfortunately, another one of those unwanted check-ins came in during that 4.8.1 cycle, where in an attempt to fix the VGL flight suits that was missing hands and feet, another check-in came in that removed subcomponents of this flight suits, but not just removed them from the flight suit, deleted them from existence from the game, and that's not something that you can do in a minor patch. And so clearly that's two instances in this patch where changes and check-ins should have been validated and prevented and went in, and then after that became an infrastructure problem, because same issue here.
So who's taking ownership here of this? Because it sounds like he's like, some people fucked up. Somebody fucked up, right? But, you know, and it's like,
if somebody was wearing the VGL flight suit and referred to these entity classes that were actually representing, I think, the
let's not point
nozzles
fingers.
and the front pack
Well, that's
of
what
the
he's
suit,
not doing. It's fine.
then the game server would
but
crash. And so we had, again,
I'm not asking to
do
point fingers.
progressive maintenance.
It's the
to
process
remove
that we
those
should be pointing
items,
fingers at.
and fix that. And so that highlights to me a massive issue with how we validate check-ins and, you know, how we get changes in the game across persistence until we have full forward porting compatibility on the persistence layer, which we don't have at the moment.
But will be a game changer.
Yes.
Another game changer.
What's your perspective, Ian? I'm keen. You know, it's
Well, it's you know, it's live service. You're always running, right? You're always running. Like we're talking about forward patching. You know, if we'd been behind closed doors, you would have done that, right? No one would ever seen the game until you've done that piece of technology. But that's not who we are. We're always running, and that's what makes it really, really exciting to work here as well, right? Because, you know, we're putting ourselves out there all the time. But if I look at this specific case, you're saying like, right, we have checks and we have contracts on what you can and can't do in these substreams that we've already released, where the data management is super, super strict. And obviously now we invalidating them twice in a row, so it's time to look at like how do we really, you know, add that extra layer of protection.
why is this happening?
Tired
Why-
Jared might be a good Jared because he doesn't seem to give a fuck.
I know. I have to be.
Why is
I'm
this
allowed
happening?
a lot of latitude here. I'm allowed a lot of latitude here, and I appreciate it from the people that I work for.
Yeah, Benoit should be getting mad
This
because
is
he's
this
almost
is
like, who's to blame?
really frustrating.
Yeah.
This is how is it? I understand that, you know, Rich Tyler, our senior game director, went on stage at CitizenCon, you know, 2 years ago, and laid out the roadmap to 1.0. It's and I understand that through 25 and through the first.
And I haven't seen any real significant forward momentum towards that. And like, it's been these like tiny steps, but only more recently, I guess. They've done the content thing last year, which, like, wow, I think last year was so much better than this year so far, in terms of like new exciting things to come in. Like Hathor is so cool. CZ's, like, the ideas that they had last year versus the ideas that they have this year are entirely different, I feel like. I don't know what this year is. Like, what is even the theme of this year other than selling shit? Like, it just feels like selling.
First half of 2026, we have made some legitimately ridiculous strides towards making this game actually the MMO it was always trying to be. You know, if people who followed this project 2015, 2016, 2017, a lot of you know, the years before, you know, it's very easy. It was very easy to have questions like, where are they going? Like where are they going? Why is this like that? Why is that like that? It's like it's we would often see questions. Has anybody ever played an MMO before? Do they know how to do this? It's like this, and there's a reason. There's a reason we made a major pivot. We made a major pivot at the end of 2024. In 2025, we went into this content mode, and we said no new features. No new features. We're going to focus on content while we shore
they
up
made a bunch of
all
new
these
features.
things.
So that
And
was
when it was you
bullshit.
and me sitting here more than a year ago, it's like this. And in the last year and a half, we have tripled the amount of content that we've put out compared to 2024, compared to 2023, 2022, all combined. Like the
Theme
amount of
park
content we have put out in the last 18 months is amazing. And the people here are working their asses off to make it as good as possible. I don't doubt the intentions of any human being here. I don't doubt the dedication of anybody here. We're not here today to apologize for anything.
It
I
sounds
know
like
that
you are.
we're all working as hard, well, except Steve. We're all working as hard as possible. But why does this happen? Why is this happening? I can't sit here and do this job and feel good about my job without asking you outright, why is this happening? If everybody is working as hard as I know they are, and everybody is working as dedicated as they are, and everybody is as talented as I know they are, why does something like this still happen? Why has it happened twice in the last 2 weeks?
Note how you pointed to me when you're talented.
I know. I think there's a part of that which is that we're transforming the game. We're still transforming the game into an MMO, right? We're still in the process of taking a game that used to run on a single server and now obviously a server mesh, which that's working.
Here we go.
The game systems need to expand as well. And if you add the content pressure on top of that, right, of getting content into the game, releasing it at the same time, stabilizing it, hardening it, and features that come in and do the inverse. New features come in and they destabilize the systems. Without stronger guardrails that also need to evolve with this, that's where we ended up. And so I think that, to be honest, I think at this right now, we're outpacing our ability of verifying everything that's being added to the game. And this is where we need to put a lot of our energy at the moment, is to put in those guardrails so that, the check-in that would cause this crash issue, right? Those are identified at this point. And so it's all about adding these validation frameworks to prevent that from happening and keeping the data stable and fully validated. Now, that sounds, well, why didn't you do that before, right?
You're not saying that there were no guardrails in place.
No. There are guardrails in place, but
they're not keeping up with the pace.
Correct. Yes, exactly. Like we create
Are we
more,
sure somebody just
we
didn't
create
ignore
more
them?
content and
Like,
more features than
dude, at the start of this, it sounded like somebody did something they weren't supposed to do. And nobody caught it. And now they're kind of like, all right, let's not make that person feel bad. Right? Like, it's okay that happened. People make mistakes. And unfortunately, they made maybe not the same person, but people made mistakes twice in a 2-week period. Right? But now they're like, oh, fuck. I love that guy. I don't want to make that guy feel bad.
we have time to add guardrails in to prevent these cases, right?
Which is
an
understandable.
example I could give on something unrelated to persistence, right? But you have we're at the point now. We used to we make a weapon, we make a ship, that's it, right? Now we have a team making weapons. They balance the weapons. They design the weapons. They work in that realm. They have guardrails in there, right? They know what to check for, outliers, data sets, how power is distributed, etc. You go to the next team. The next team is making chip components. They have their guardrails, they have their approaches, they have their things, right? They balance it out. You have another team that's making recipes and dismantling, right? They have their own guardrails, their own systems. You have another team that's making economy. They add those things to shops. They add pricing.
None of them are talking to each other, by the way, if you can't tell.
Another team that's adding this content to loot boxes, right? Now, we didn't have that a while ago, right? And then mission rewards added in there. All of these have validation, but there's no holistic validation across, right? We're at the point now where all these systems communicate with each other all the time, right? And crafting has changed the game quite a bit on that area, right? And so that translates into more weapons being created, more content being created, more missions giving more rewards, and all these things need to be validated together, not in silos.
Is this why in 4.8 there was the thing where there was a weapon? I think it was a ship weapon. I can't remember specifically, but you paid 20,000. I'm pulling a number out of my butt here.
Sure.
You paid 20,000 to buy the ship weapon, but then you dismantled it and you got like $80,000 worth of materials. And
That you could sell in one area.
that you can send. So people were just buying the vendor thing and doing it.
Right.
And you're saying that's because the weapon and the price and the pricing and everything for the weapon was validated by one team in one silo, if you will.
Yes.
And then the validation of
They finally admit it, that they don't fucking talk to each other and don't cohesively make Star Citizen. They make it in their own little things. Also, new season of Silos coming up. Can't fucking wait. Holy
the
shit.
crafting and the breakdown and stuff was done in a different one.
Sure.
Thanks,
and there
guys, for the
wasn't
subs.
something
Thank you.
that
Transversal to check all of that, and also like we're definitely now post 4.7 in a realm where just human validation is not enough, right? And so a lot of game design data is typically, managed by the team. But I think that we're way past that, and we need machine validation for everything because
time for
the rate
validating.
at which we build it and the amount of technology we're putting in is just too fast for validation to keep up.
okay.
And we can't just rely on endpoint validation. Because in this case, it was machine validation that caught the error
Yes.
and stopped it from corruption.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Like
But
the
it's
machine
at the endpoint,
validation
it's
had
too
a
late.
correct. Yes. Exactly.
So had to come earlier.
So
Has
for
to come
validation,
earlier, he said.
let's just stay on this topic here for a bit. It's people are going to, as talented as everybody is, as skilled as everybody is, and stuff like this. Mistakes are going to be made, and the wrong thing's going to be checked in, and stuff like this. And the game is growing at a scale. Like I've been here for more than a decade and stuff. I know it's a Jared meme drink anytime I talk about how long I've been here. You can just see it in my hair now. Weird. I am so incredibly proud of the game right now. It's the last 18 months have hands down been the best 18 months that this game has had since the PU went online in 2015. And anybody that says otherwise is being disingenuous. They just are. I'm being.
Who's being disingenuous? Comparing it to what? Compare it to what, man? Stop with this. You have to compare it to something. You're right. You're comparing it to the worst the game ever was right before then. Like, he's right. I get it, dude. Like I said it right before. There's so much more content in this game. There's so much more to do, so on and so forth. But is it where it should be at this point? Absolutely not. Not even close. 14 years and the most basic things. And not because game development is hard, basic things. It's because they chose not to prioritize the most basic things that you do day in and day out. Okay? It's really frustrating to hear him do this every fucking SCL, dude.
Hard with you guys here. I'm going to be a little harder. I'm going to be
Come on.
I'm being hard with you guys as well. It's like the last 18 months have been phenomenal for the progression of Star Citizen. It's our daily average users are up. Our concurrency is up. The content is the best content we've ever put out. TSG is finally realizing we finally have coordinated space combat in our space combat game. Is this just? But it sounds
Sessions
like
are up.
we're moving.
Bug numbers
we're
are
moving
down.
fast. We're moving fast, and we're doing a lot. You said the guardrails aren't catching up.
He's got a script.
I get machine validation. I get you got to build some stuff. Is that all we can do? Is that make me feel better about how we're going to fix this? Is what I'm asking. Because if I feel better about how we're going to fix this, maybe there's a reason for people watching to feel better about how we're going to fix it.
Sure.
It's just the validation issue.
Sure. So it's a problem we've known about, right? And we've been trying to solve, right? And so more recently, there's more changes that have been coming from the engine side to give us a framework for validation. When I say framework for validation, is that game designers can participate in this, right? It's not like, oh, they need to hand it off to an engineer is busy and he can't do the work, and now the validation is not added, which is the mode that we've been in the past, right?
Okay.
And so we've been in the process of building a validation framework for all game systems and all pieces of data stored in the game that can do queries across all data, whether it's, hey, I have a mission in this location that requires this, that pays out this. Is that an outlier compared to, you know? And so being able to do cross data queries across the entire game, which is not something we've had before, which allows us then to just express these checks, find outliers into like mission payouts, find outliers into how, you know, if we go back to the example of the gun is for sale at this location at this price, it's dismantleable into these components that can be sold at this location, that exchange value is too high, right? And so creating these validations will become part of the design.
How many people
work
are on the economy
completely
team?
with this framework, which will allow us to have all these guardrails. On top of that, we've got the
We don't need
technical,
AI for something like that.
the more technical validation, right? So the two issues we got in 4.8 related to modifying ships that were already in the distributed in the main patch and removing entity classes, for example. Both of those things already have lock checks right now. That's the first thing we did when we discovered them. But we're going to keep adding more of those compatibility check. Now, 4.8 also has the beginning of database patching. So
Okay.
in 4.7, we didn't have the full ability to persist all the crafting properties on weapons. So if you crafted a weapons, all the modifiers were not necessarily going to persist through LTP, right?
It looks
In
like we still
4.8,
might have
we
issues in 4.8.
Introduced in the back end patchable serialized variables. We didn't talk about it much because it's kind of mixed into the crafting system, but basically we now, in the schema of a component, which stores the data for something, let's say it's a weapon, right?
Okay.
And I have the modifiers for it, let's say elongated nozzle, faster damage rate, whatever. These values, we now know which one of those values is patchable, right? And then we're able this way
What
to
does
persist them
patchable
and
mean?
patch them in the next release. We also
Okay.
determine which ones we store when you stow it. We don't stow all variables, which used to be the case. And that's the foundation for us to keep working at what we really want to achieve, which is a forward patchable data set. So that now these, even if you know,
Adding crafting without workable persistence is mad. They did not add crafting. Like if you consider the 4.7 crafting to have added crafting before the wipe, I think you are being disingenuous and not really fair here. Or maybe not disingenuous, but not fair. That was like the, hey, we're going to put this in here. Let's get our feedback for it. And then once you see they decided to do a wipe too, you can recognize a little bit more that that decision was probably made a long time ago and that they were going to like get some information, get some feedback for this patch where they were going to do the wipe, where the ability to carry these things over. This might give a lot of confidence to people to like buy weapons, buy ship components and things like that now because they think it's actually going to carry over to 4.9.
the ship team goes in, changes all the serialized variables for a ship, and rejigs the whole object container layout for a ship, that will be able to live migrate your ship to the new version without crashing the game servers in the meantime. So basically embracing this movable data set. But that's tricky to do. Obviously, we've been at this for a long time.
So they're going to have some
But
issues.
4.8 has the beginning of that.
Has the
for,
beginning
just for
of it.
crafting properties.
Right. That's great for allowing us to better manage when somebody checks something in that they didn't do. But I'm talking about what are we doing to stop the check-ins that aren't supposed to happen.
Sure.
Like through validation. I want to.
Well, it's pre-validation, right? The one I call this validation framework I'm talking about is pre-check-in.
Okay.
Right. It's something that I'm working on the game. I'm like, I'm going to add a new gun and I'm going to price it this and I'm going to make it super powerful, right? Well, that would flag.
Zach.
I could not, I could not check that in, right? The system would go, wait, you need some authorization before you can check this in because of these reasons. Which
Zach
currently we
in
don't
shambles.
have something like this. That's cross-checking,
The boom tube would have never made it in.
right? Obviously, in each silo, yes, but not within.
Is this something? I have to ask you the one question here. Is this something that we're talking about that's a 2027 thing? Are there parts of this at least that can go in? Is there hope for this?
Yes.
Sooner rather than later.
We need this yesterday. Like,
I'm aware we need it yesterday.
Yeah,
but
no, we're working on this right now. Like, to get all these checks and balances in place. Like, I don't know if it will be like a 4.9 kind of thing, but it's happening now.
Okay.
Because everybody around the table knows now, like, it's clear from the 4.8 experience that machine validation is required across the board.
So
machine
so
doesn't
why
mean
isn't
AI.
this-
It sounds like, by the way.
why isn't this just? Let's tackle this from another
Just
angle.
automate it.
Why isn't just throwing more QA at this the answer? Why isn't this just hire 500 more QA people, and this gets fixed? I suspect you probably have an answer for this.
I mean, in this case, it took the situation of like the data, how the database on 48481 was, and with the new data from 482 to create the situation. And that's not something that the QA environment has. So whatever we do, we as a technology group would have to come in and at least give them that. And then if you put your 500 QA on it, then they would probably, one of them would have spawned an Idris. But without that environment, you could put as many as you like on it. No one would ever have discovered this situation. This is just too far removed. And I think that's so come back to the large data set, right? As you have a large data set, you just can't scale.
Yeah, the cost of
In
QA
manpower
to
alone.
test Star
You need
Citizen is
something
impossible.
That scales
It's
way
too big.
beyond that.
And I suppose if you just hired 500 QA people, that doesn't mean there's 500 requisite programmers that can all take the stuff and fix it either.
No, I think they would meet some frustration with their output and our ability to tackle it would certainly create a separate set of challenges.
Also, what's frustrating with this situation is that, we've done multiple patches where this just worked fine.
Oh yeah, we've been on this. We've been putting out a new piece of content every 2 weeks since the beginning of this year. Last year we moved, for 2024 and before, we were on a schedule of one patch every 3 months. And we didn't, I think we actually hit every 3 months once in the 5 years that we were on that cadence. From 3.0 to 4.8, I can't remember.
Here we go again. Like, guys, how has this year felt?
Which one was January last year. We were trying to do a patch every quarter, and we actually hit the quarter date
be
maybe
honest,
one or two times.
This year does not feel good.
But so it was 4 patches a year.
Yeah.
At most, basically, is what we were doing. And then in 2025, we, as part of this major initiative, we switched and we went 11 patches.
Yeah.
We went 11 patches in 2024. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record. The content that was in those patches is some of the stuff I'm most proud of that their team here has ever put out. But we were able to do that because we pulled back on features. We pulled back on features, and it was content team. There were a couple features here and there that would sneak in and whatnot because we need this for that and the other thing. But for the most part, it was all content. In 2026. We now switch to, and anybody that's been really paying attention or following the development would see this already. We've switched to a bi-monthly patch where we put out a major patch every 2 months, and we do these 2-week content drops in between. So every 2 weeks, there's a certain thing gets turned on. People who have been in PT, who have been testing, they tested this aspect, and then it wasn't there in the patch, and it goes, because it gets turned on 2 weeks. It gets turned on 2 weeks after that. It gets turned, and that was to help with engagement throughout the year.
To help with engagement. There we go. And then what was the one thing that was supposed to be turned on in 4.8.2? It's not on. The only thing that was supposed to be turned on during this patch is not on. No, Xeno's 4.8.3. Xeno's 4.8.3, guys. 4.8.2 was a couple of missions for certain blueprints. Those were not turned on because they weren't tested enough and they failed and they're broken and they don't work. It was defense missions. And the best ballistic repeaters blueprints are in those missions. And you just can't get them for some reason.
Give people more things to do to keep people more interested. It's one of those things that you do when you're running a MMO. And that's been great.
No, they
Up
were
until
fixed
the last
and then immediately taken out
4
again.
weeks. That's worked.
Yeah.
And so it's...
I have to say this to this guy because he's been constantly saying this. Aren't those fixed now? You have to stop going with what is written in the patch notes as fixed or what CIG says. And unfortunately, you have to actually listen to people who play the game because he says he's not even able to download the game because he can't download because there's some problem with that. Right. But a lot of people just say, oh, it says fixed in the notes, so it must be fixed. That's never been true, you know?
I don't want to harp
it's
on
not
this.
fixed,
I don't know how much
unfortunately.
of this is my own personal, I'm stuck on it, or whether this is what I'm supposed to be doing with the show. But it seems like we know what we have to do.
We have to solve the process for sure.
We have to solve the process. We have to solve the process. We have to build more tools. We have to scale our validation to match the rate of content that we're doing.
And the complexity of content too.
Right, because this year we also turned on features. We turned on the feature spigot this year after pulling back on it in 2025. I think I can't tell if I've been messing up my years this whole time.
What features? The crafting, I guess?
All right. How confident do you feel? How confident do you feel that you've got a handle on this?
I think we know what we have to do. I think it's going to take a while to get all of these guardrails in place, right?
Okay.
But in the
That's tough to
meantime,
hear.
I mean, we just have to respect the rules that we've set forward in the meantime, right? So that while we can't
So he's
machine check
talking to the
everything
devs
this,
here.
right this second, and to be honest, I'm not talking about months of work here on these validation frameworks, right? But it's about putting in the ability for every team to contribute guardrails, right? Which right now it's a bit splintered, and so we need to bring
he's
this all
talking to
back
team
together. So I'm
leads.
confident that for especially the errors we just talked
Don't
about.
fuck up, guys.
Right? Like releasing a piece of content that crashes every server on launch, or twice, right? Or evident misconfiguration of items or costs or recipes, right? I'm confident that will solve the issue, that those issues will no longer occur as long as we respect the validation and nobody tripped them off, which, that's the next battle.
The validation issues.
Yeah, exactly. I think that we can eliminate that.
All right. So for the last 35, 40 minutes, we've been off the program here a little bit. The issue that went out,
Because
the issue
the
that happened
got
with
turned
482
off.
yesterday because of a validation
And we have to
issue.
appease to those guys for some reason.
I didn't feel like we could go into the program that we had originally planned without addressing it. It was just, I was very frustrated, and sometimes I abuse my position here to do this. So you're laughing. I'm the one that's going to get back and see if my bosses are still happy with me or not.
I feel like a little bit of instability or a lot of instability is way less of a problem than a lot of the problems that we've been experiencing forever. Like quantum travel issues, like inventory issues, freight elevator issues, and all these other things. And taking 45 minutes to be like, hey, the server's crashed a little bit feels kind of the classic, like, Jared doesn't really play the game and doesn't understand the actual frustrations of the backers. Like, I think maybe he lives more in the moment and was on Reddit last night or something, and then was like, oh, everything's on fire, this is bad, and then goes into this whole thing like, we have to address this on SCL, which is fine. I think it's totally fine to address those things. Like, I want to be clear about that. But I feel like they're making this out to be a much bigger deal than it actually is. And maybe it's a really big deal internally, and that's why they are. But from an outside perspective, like, if the game is crashy, just like, I just go play something else. Like, I ended my stream super early yesterday, and I played Eve the whole day, and I, watched soccer games and had a good day, you know? Like, isn't this the best time to come in and just be like, it's an alpha? Like, these things are going to happen sometimes. For me, I feel like I get that part now. Like, this just happens.
We do have a lot. We do have a lot to cover,
like,
a lot
whatever,
that we
who cares?
wanted to cover and stuff, and we're going to start getting into that stuff now.
It's the things that happen, like, occasionally, like, oh, wow, there's the servers are crashing a lot today. They figured it out. They fixed it. Big deal. It's the things that happen every fucking day, no matter what the state of the servers are. That's what I have a problem with. That's what I'm tired of. That's what I'm getting frustrated by. And if I was in Jared's seat, that would be the one that I would be so frustrated by and looking like, oh, putting my head in my hands about, like he is on this one, instead of, oh man, the game went down for a little while yesterday. Like, who gives a fuck?
I hope watching you'll forgive the diversion, that you'll agree that it was worth it. I think there was some very useful stuff there. And I do want to, I do want to say, I have to say this. This is me personally saying this. He goes, it was an issue with a ship yesterday, but the ship teams around the world, there's a team here, there's a team in Austin, there's a team in Montreal, have been some of the consistently quality delivering teams of this project for years and years and years and years and years. You know, it's easy. It's the last couple of weeks have been a bit rough, but it's
bullshit. He's just,
man, it's like, where would we be? It's where would we be without the ship?
What he's trying to do is like not, and I don't even think he needed to bring this up because now you guys are gonna like find a place to blame, but like, we don't need to blame an individual developer for this tiny issue. Right? Like, again, do I need to go on the same rant again? Guys, the issues that happen every single day we log into the game consistently for years are the problems that people actually have. I am not looking to blame some random ship developer that made a check on the Idris and fucked something up. I'm looking at you and everyone else that is high up at the company that accepts the state of those issues that consistently have been happening forever and are actual problems, like quantum travel, like inventory, like economy, like the mission content never fucking working, right? That kind of shit. That is the stuff that we are sick and tired of, that you need to address internally as a company and put your fucking guardrails on for. Not the fact that the servers crashed one night, right? Come on, man. I'm not here to blame anybody. I'm here to just be like, we got to be better. We want to do better. And our frustrations as a community are not where you think they are. They are somewhere else that you seem to just ignore. And it's so fucking frustrating. Holy shit. I'm sorry. I don't want to pause. I don't want to get mad at these things, but I can't listen to this guy say this shit and not actually understand where the actual frustrations are coming from. It's really, really like, I hope this is constructive feedback. I know it's frustrated. I know it's angry, but know it's coming from the right place. Like, God damn, man. There are so many problems that have been existing forever that may not be easy fixes, but need to be priority fixes that just aren't. Like, nowhere in the Niku post is quantum travel, some quantum travel bugs, but not the ones that we've consistently had. Power issues with engineering consistently since the moment it came in, right? Like, so many things like that. It's just crazy. Inventory stuff, storing anytime you store anything. Oh my God.
Like, so
come
it's
on.
like, lest this seems like we're coming down on the ship team today, that is not my intention.
No,
they happen to be in the hot.
And just to be clear, I don't think anybody watching felt like they were coming down on the ship team. Do you? I felt like, to me, this felt like we need to change something as a company. That's how this felt.
seat, yesterday. It's like this, but this could literally
Jared just
happen
made it
anyone,
worse.
to anybody.
Any team.
And it did. It
Now
happened.
people might.
It was a whole nother team 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
And if we don't get these guardrails in place, it'll be a whole nother team 2 weeks from now.
Yep.
So I can't.
For me, the takeaway is human guardrails are not enough.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Just.
And that's
It's-
probably fair.
Yeah, I just didn't want it. It's unfair to make it seem. It's unfair to make it seem like the ship team hasn't been absolutely killing it for years and years, and they still are. So.
Nobody's saying they're not.
Desync.
Here we go.
Here,
Let's just. Nobody's ever going to say yes to being on this show ever again.
Yeah,
Benoit,
now let's talk about something that
I put
actually
you on the
matters.
hook
Here
to
we
write a
go.
big old write-up on desync, and I know it's being worked on. I've seen the draft and it's being worked on between every other initiative. Time spent writing is time spent not actually fixing things and making processes better. And
Also,
stuff.
we got a couple guest stars in it that I'm hoping will.
I thought
make a
that's what this
difference.
was.
So that's still underway. That's still underway, and it's more like it's when we're done with it, it's going to be more like one of those. It's not a design brief. That's not the right thing. But kind of like what you saw with the gameplay guide. We're going to break it down, and I promise you, it'll be the most educated thing that you'll ever see from a game studio on what it is and what it isn't and what causes it and what doesn't cause it and stuff like that.
And the particularities of our game architecture.
Yeah.
Also.
But that said,
Don't care. Just don't want it. I just don't want it.
when 4.8
I don't get.
went
I
out,
don't get this.
I started with 4.7. 4.7 was great overall, but there has been
Just don't
there's
want
a
it to be
reason
there.
I had to call you and ask it. There has been this mounting desync for the last several patches. It starts out small and it gets bigger. It affects some people more disproportionately than others. There are people that I have talked to, whether at a Bar Citizen or just reading the chat here today or in any other show, where they're having a virtually unplayable experience. And then there are other people who are like, that's not my experience. I'm having, I'm having a wonderful time and whatnot. Without just reading the entire doc that we're doing, I can't get past this show without talking about it at least somewhat.
Yeah.
What do we know is causing it at this point? What are we doing to resolve it? Just a simple question.
Well, so
Simple response, hopefully.
What we know about right now is that there are some meshes. When I say meshes, I mean a dedicated game server inside a shard that are running way below FPS spec that we want, right? And so we don't have a handle just yet about what is actually causing it. We do have performance captures, and we're tracking at least 6 to 8 very specific
That's
optimizations
tough to hear.
that need to happen. One of
We
them
don't know.
is within the area component, which is used all over the engine. Area and zone component, they kind of go hand in hand, but where, again, because we're pushing more content, right? The hierarchy trees of the game world is much bigger. So there's more areas, more zones, more subdivision, more. There are some areas of that where if you add a lot of entities in those that enter or exit these areas, there's, the engine provides listeners to track entities entering areas or leaving areas or zones changing, right? And obviously there's concurrency constructs around this to prevent one thread from accessing another thread, right? And so just keeping it simple without diving too much into the low level, which we will probably in some of our desync areas. But there's lock contention in the area component at the moment. In some
What was
places,
that phrase?
there's lock contention
Okay.
in some areas of the game. Well, I literally mean area, like, if there's many entities in this spot, because of the way it's configured, we're seeing basically FPS drops in those areas. And so we're tracking about, like I said, 6 to 8 major optimizations that we're trying to get in in our hotfix channel, right, to try to get this FPS back up to the spec that we want, which is above 20, across the
Server
the
FPS.
Server FPS, correct.
Somebody's going to take.
Okay, so when That's the thing. Is like we're not exactly sure what's causing it, but they have a bunch of optimizations they want to do. So they have ideas of how to fix it. So nothing to super stress about.
So-
then
So
I
he's
guess.
going to take that clip and say, "Oh no, Star Citizen's only looking for 20 FPS in gameplay and whatnot."
No. And it's important to note that like when a server is running low FPS, it doesn't mean that it will create desync, but especially when you're interacting with entities that are simulated on that DGS.
That's the other thing is FPS desync is significantly worse than ship desync because there was a time where the people in the ship community, the PvP community, fought and fought and fought and fought and fought with guys like Benoit before Benoit was Benoit at the company and said, something is up here. Something is not right. Even in an environment like Arena Commander with one other person, we're seeing this desync. It's very weird and it doesn't make any sense. There has to be something else going on here. And they fought and fought and fought for it. And eventually somebody addressed it. And ship-to-ship combat desync has gone way down since that discussion. It may be like creeping back in for whatever reasons that Benoit might mention, but somebody fought against that. We fought against that in FPS, and nobody fought for enough to make those changes or address them, or they're bigger problems than the ship one or whatever. But in FPS, it's way worse than in ships for whatever reason. But yeah, low flyers are able to fly centimeters away from each other and not blow up. That's not entirely true. They have their desync explosions, but FPS is way, way worse.
AI.
Yeah, there's
AI
a built-in
characters,
delay.
NPCs,
Shroud
then
experienced it when he played,
You're
remember?
going to perceive desync because the source is slow at creating its output. And, you know, the traffic goes from your game client to the replication node. Replication node to game server. Now, if game server is running slow, at the beginning of the frame, he's taking the state from the game, from the network to the game and applying it. At the end of it, he's applying the changes back to the network, right? If that loop is slow, then your client's going to predict something, and then that prediction will get corrected the next frame, and that will create a rubber band, right? And so that's the gist of why there's desync in general.
Why does the client have to predict?
Because if he doesn't predict, then you're going to be at the tick of the server, and you'll see like
Even if it was running perfect, you'd see it in an FPS. Like because your need for it to be, you know,
Did they turn his mic
so
off?
responsive is too high.
Is this so? All right.
I can't
the
fix
meshes
his mic.
inside the shard are certain ones are slowing down,
correct. It's not widespread in all areas.
which is why some people are in
I'm
there
not
having a great.
I'm not going to tell you which areas. That's what you're asking.
Yeah, which do avoid.
I got to ask the obvious question. Then at least it's obvious. It seems obvious to me. Is this related to the ship cleanup or lack thereof?
That's one of those things that we're looking at is how aggressive or not the ship cleanup is actually happening.
Oh my God.
That's one of the things we're looking at.
More
yes.
aggressive
Because-
ship
because
cleanup
you-
than we
you can-
already
you can-
have, by the
you
way.
can watch a Twitch
It's
stream or look at
nasty
an
aggressive.
Initiative Council report, and you'll see. I want to say dozens and dozens, but I feel like it's even more.
Yeah.
Bricked ships everywhere because with the insurance changes and whatnot.
Sure.
Bricking these ships
Yeah.
and whatnot. Is this viably part of what it is? Is this?
In part, yeah, that for sure doesn't help because the more entities are replicated, the more the server needs to do every frame, and so that contributes to this.
What about the massive amount of
You can
ships that
usually
they've put
find
in
it when you look at our server days performing great? It usually
asteroid
has
belts?
a larger vehicle population, certainly.
The server that
Vehicles
is
are-
performing great has a larger.
No, a firm not performing so
Oh.
great tends to have a slightly larger vehicle population or a very large active population. That can also happen. In general, just a lot of everything. We're quite a heavy game, entity-wise. We
Right.
want to avoid getting to the sort of size that we were in Stanton before we went into meshing, right? Because that was consistently difficult to manage.
Yeah, but if we're okay, so if we're already, Stezig is like, fix it. Super helpful, dude.
Oh man, it's so easy. We're done with this subject.
All right. You know what, Stezik? I honestly, none of us had thought about that. That's all right. We don't even need to do the rest of the show, do we?
Yeah, I know that there's been some changes related to how we perform entity cleanup. So unattended vehicle cleanup used to be a separate system, right, that ran on its own. That's been merged into what we call the density manager, which is basically an engine functionality that will look at overpopulation in clusters of areas that obviously designers have control over. For example, we want to make sure, like the exit routes for hangars are cleaned up, and so these are, have active cleanup zones configured, right? That's designer controlled. Now the engine will then, after that, apply the logic on the volume, determine, there's too many of X in this area, and we'll start popping stuff out, right? He's going to do the cleanup. Now for ships, the unattended vehicle cleanup system used to be separate. Now it's been brought into the density manager, I think end of last year, something like this. So it's been a while. And this one tracks whether there's passengers on player passengers on a vehicle, and will, based on a certain timer configuration, and the values are different depending on the areas, will either stow back the ship into the originating inventory or destroy it, depending on if it's a player-owned ship or if it's an AI ship, depending, right? Now, it does look like maybe there's a misconfiguration in key areas that are leaving ships there. So we don't think the system is incorrectly functioning. We think it might be inaccurately configured. In some areas, and so that would allow a very popular area to just accumulate ships like crazy.
They're talking like
right?
quiet and then loud, and then quiet and then loud. I'm constantly having to adjust the volume.
Are you able to clean up? Are you able to differentiate between? You obviously mentioned a ship that has a person on it. That's great, but a ship that doesn't have a person on it but is still a viable ship versus a destroyed husk versus a bricked ship from the inventory. You're able to distinguish between and set timers for.
I'm not sure if the density manager will have a modifier specifically for bricked or not, but it can see it.
It does, or it will.
It will.
Okay.
It will eventually.
Yeah, if it
doesn't, it will. Eventually.
Because
it's less about timers. It's more about density. It's sort of trying to say you have overpopulated this area. So it's less about like that ship has been there for a long period of time. It's more like there's a lot of ships here.
Yeah.
Let's remove one. Let's figure out which one is best to remove. For unattended vehicle, does have a timer as well. So you kind of have these like, it's sort of like we talked about validation. You start with a timer, then you start adding a density, then you start sort of building up these views of the world to kind of understand which areas are problematic. Like,
I don't have any issues with what they're saying here. Do you guys?
Super strict.
Yeah.
Seems fine.
The place, as we're talking about this, something that pops in my mind that I think is also, in our process, now not even development process, but let's call it live operations of the game. We're very lean in terms of our live operations at CIG because we're in development, right? And so even though we do run a live service, we try to run a really lean ship, right, on that side. And so we don't have an army of site reliability engineers that are looking at like every aspect of like, Shard 25 is an overpopulation of ships at Jackson Swap in between this time frame, time frame. Like we don't go in that depth, right? And so we track overpopulations across all shards, right? But we can't go granular into this. But that is an area where we could improve this and detect those things.
They probably do need to go granular
better
into it.
Tune these values. Typically right now we will tune the density manager values every patch or every hotfix. But that is a slow cadence. Compared to how you would react if you see, oh my God, on every shard this location is loaded. Let's affect the density manager change right now. Right now we don't have the ability to do that live, and that's a problem. That would improve the game quite a bit.
There's folks in the. It would. I don't want to dismiss that. There's folks in the chat that are like, just make the brick ships salvageable or give towing mission stuff. Those are all
They are salvageable, as far as I know.
Yeah, and towing missions, but it's those are all game design and mission design stuff. That's not anything that the tech, and even then, a solution that requires entirely player, it relies on the players entirely to solve, is not going to get us where we need. I don't disagree, and I know it's the intention. They're supposed to be salvageable if they're.
Let's totally ignore the fact that Chris Roberts said a coffee cup will sit there and be there forever, and just let's try and say that this is a fucking bad idea. Why don't we just continuously say that is a fucking bad idea? It is clearly causing more issues than it excites. But they can't do that, so I will. It is a genuinely shitty idea. Right? It just is. It just is. So when somebody leaves a ship there for more than an hour, like, just get rid of it. It doesn't add any excitement to the game whatsoever. Like, I don't get that part. Like, if you want, when you get rid of it, spawn a mission in somewhere on the surface of that planet of a similar ship with a similar loadout or something in the future. But I don't see what do we gain from it is what my question always is. We gain Chris Roberts the ability to say that coffee cup in some fucking news article that, somebody might read, get excited, and then buy the game over. But, like, when you actually are playing, do you really gain anything from that? I've seen some situations where, like, when PES was, like, strongly working and not how it is now, like, somebody left a gun somewhere and they came back and it was there like, literally 24 hours later, which is, like, a cool moment in that moment. But, like, truly, what is that providing? I don't know. Base building? But we're going to need to, whatever you lock down needs to be permanently there forever in base building. Like, if you don't lock it down, it disappears. Right? But all you get is, just litter. But it doesn't make things feel lived in, right? Because it's not artistically placed to make it feel lived in. It just looks like clutter and fucked. And it makes the game even, in all honesty, it makes the game harder to play because you are unable to land at some of these locations because ships are sitting on the pad. Like, I'm sorry, what do I gain by a fucking ship sitting on a pad at a station that I need to refuel at for 24 hours? What do I gain from that? Absolutely nothing. But I lose a lot from it, and I gain a lot of fucking frustration. So, come on. We don't need salvage missions. We need to use our fucking brains.
Or not, they will. Yes. They will be. It's just, having towing missions to take them away and dump them somewhere is a great idea and stuff like that. But
in the end, you don't even need to make a mission. Like, this is the thing. None of these guys play their game enough, so they don't actually know. If I go to tow that ship on the pad, what happens? The moment I log out of the game and I leave my ship there, that ship should not give anybody a crime stat for moving it. I have given up all rights to that protection of that ship because I am committing way more of a crime by sitting on a pad than not, right? Game rules should exempt CS assignment. And again, like, when Jared says this is not a game design solution, or like this isn't a game design show, he's right. This isn't the guy who's going to decide that game design thing. But if there is a game design solution that does not cause the guy who needs to make PES work better, dynamic server meshing, and make the guardrails that they were talking about at the beginning have more work, he doesn't need any more work. We shouldn't, if there's a game design solution that's as simple as allow the players to remove the ship from the pad, allow the players to completely salvage the fuck out of this thing while it's in an armistice zone. Like, Is that not a way simpler solution? Now, he's probably right. These are things that will cause problems. But we have Gen Chat. We have Gen Chat. Any salvagers out there want to salvage at Port Tressler? Because there's a ton of ships here blocking all the pads. And there's a ton of cargo sitting around as well that you guys can pick up. On it, somebody will go and do it, right? And that person is completely autonomous, can do that shit by themselves. No punishment of crime stat or anything. I would do that all day because I find salvaging to be incredibly fun in the game, but I don't find there to be a purpose for it. And I know the purpose is not really there still with this, but again, we don't need a technical solution for this problem if a very, 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 very simple game design change of not giving anybody a crime stat and going to game rules faster happened.
That can't be
give
the
me a
only thing. There
fucking
still
break.
needs to be a tech.
Like, guys, I can't remain unfrustrated by these people because what's happening now is what happens every day at this fucking company. They sit here, they have these dumbass meetings and say all these things when there are simple solutions and they overcomplicate everything. I can't deal with it, dude. It's like so, I don't know, but it just seems so obvious to me that they just have these dumbass meetings all the time and come up with the most complicated solution possible to the simplest fucking problems.
Technical solution to clean this up. It's the reason I asked if it could separate everything is because I don't think all of them are salvageable. I'm trying to remember an old conversation right now where there were rules about why this one could be salvageable and this one couldn't.
I know
be
there's
salvageable.
been changes related to this as well recently.
But like it's in my head. In my head, I'm just
fucked.
like, why don't we just disappear every brick ship right now until we get a handle on this? Like just
I agree with that.
crank the cleanup on bricked ships that we know don't belong to anybody. Just like they get to exist for 1.5 seconds and then they're gone. It's like
Why not?
It's like it's there.
I'm just imagining the Reddit post after that. My ship disappeared 1 second after.
A brick ship. No, but the ship only gets a bricked ship.
Bricked.
A bricked ship is they're back at they're back at their ASOP terminal and they've reclaimed it. So why can't it just vanish? Now I'm certain. Whenever I go off like this and whatnot, and it sounds so simple and it sounds so obvious, and then I get back to my desk and I've got an engineer or something and goes, "It's not that simple, Jared. There's this and that. There's that dependency and blah blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just a layman moron who had a very simple idea." But it's hard because it's I'm no different than half the people watching the show. It's just there are times when something seems
Yes, you are.
so easy
You're
and
very
so
different.
obvious. And it's like, just do that. Because that's what my head was screaming that whole time. That's where I was going. Just until we get a handle on it, destroy the brick ships right away.
I always say, if it was easy, it would have been done.
Yeah, that's
So,
not true
by
though.
that,
I don't think
I have to
so.
assume there is reasons that makes it not easy.
Yeah, I don't. Not at this company.
And it's usually like the complexity in the interactions. Like Benoit talked about, you sell a gun, and then you deconstruct it, and then the material can be sold somewhere else for something
But to be fair, this is not his department to make that decision, right?
else. These kind of complex interactions between lots of different systems are usually what stops us from doing something that, from a tech point of view, is literally a flag in the database that says that's bricked. I can treat it as garbage.
Yeah, there's this thing. It's what was the example? We had the example. I have to look back in our chat. There was something in the 481. It was the one of the old features for the hanger module for the. It's in our chat. It's in our chat. Yeah, it's one of the issues. And I said, dude, we need to remember that. It's in our chat. When I said we need to bring that up. I can't remember. But recently, one of the things that flummoxed 481 was an old system. It was an old system from like 6 or 7 years ago that hadn't been touched. Some new piece of content touched for the first time, and and it didn't work. I can't remember. It's just one of those. It's if making games were easy, they'd be done. I mean, pivot your. There wouldn't be a studio that closes every week in the last 2 years. So what?
I love this. They okay.
What did? So 4.8 comes out.
Yeah. There's been other issues. We talked about the catastrophic ones, but there's also other tangential issues.
I can't keep ranting.
We've got a section coming up where we've pulled the dashboard and what folks are working on. I'll get to that in a second if that's where you were going. I want to stay a little bit more into 4.8. So. Think of how I want to do this here. We put up a thread. We collected a bunch of questions. We pulled some of that. Some of that's affected. We've used that to inform certain of the topics here and stuff. One of the, when you go through, okay. If you had to put, I understand that nothing is simple. I understand that there's probably 14, 15, 16 underlying causes that all contribute to this. But if I ask the simple question, what changed in 4.8 that affected server performance so much? I'm just on like raw server performance.
Sure.
Whatever. What's the thing that comes to your head? I'm gonna get both of you on this.
Sure.
Here, so don't think you get out of this. It's try to make
for me it's behaviors. So there's one thing about running a game server is that it's kind of an organic behavioral system, right? And so you can have a game server with a version of the code, a version of the data running a certain way, and then players start doing something different. And that completely changes the performance profile. And so I feel like in 4.8, most likely my hunch for these 6 to 8 like performance issues that we're looking at,
6 or 7.
It's related to some imprint changes. So the way people use ships, leaving brick ships behind, are there more claims, than before? Are there other egregious issues that showed up that are creating more claims that would affect, the amount of entities on the server? Is there a malfunction on, for example,
he's not blaming the players
cleanup that is leaving items in place? Or is there just people are going to a location that's configured to be very loose on its density, and it's somehow the location that people have decided to go to in this patch? So sometimes the performance profile of the game servers changes just based on behaviors, not on like, oh, we changed something.
You're blaming the backers.
No, I'm blaming the features that cause behavioral changes. And so that, for me, that's what screams. That's what comes out of it for me. You're talking raw server performance here.
Yeah, I'm not talking just the raw server performance here. What are you thinking, Jens?
I mean, it's hard not to just parrot what you just said. I mean, it does feel like when I think of 4.8, there's nothing there I can go, yeah, that those gameplay changes we made could have caused it. The only thing I can think of is we did performance improvements, but there is a large change in how we handle vehicles and the lifetime of vehicles.
You mean the changes with the imprinting and the insurance system? So
there's
the
like
way,
a million brick
the way
versions
that
of ships everywhere.
The life of a vehicle in the universe changed, but its lifespan with the bricking and stuff like this, and the way that players handle them because of the changes that we instituted. Yes. I want to be clear. It's so you're bringing it back. You're bringing it back, a big chunk of it, not everything, back to the number of ships.
I mean, that would be based on what I know of that patch went out with. I just don't see I don't recall there being any larger changes on the gameplay side. I feel like could explain it.
Yeah, we're not talking about their. I want to be real clear. It's you. Folks watching, you have a lot of experience with me, and you have a lot of experience with Benoit, and less experience with Jens here. He's not saying that there are no bugs. There are no bugs. It's like we're talking about raw server FPS things. A bug does not impact server FPS. The freight elevator eating your cargo does not affect server FPS and stuff. The question I asked was, what is affecting the raw server FPS? And that answer is they're trying to find an answer specifically to that. If it sounds like we don't know the answer, quite honestly, we're still working on it. It's somebody in the chat said it sounds like Jared's frustrated. Of course I'm frustrated. These two guys at the table are frustrated. Quite a lot of people are frustrated. I say it over and over again. We're having the same conversations you guys are having, just 3 weeks earlier. It's like this. There's this concept that game development is game construction. You're just supposed to have all the answers, and you're supposed to know everything, and everything's supposed to be figured out before you do it and stuff. And just the reality is that's not how it works. I'm not talking about CIG here. I'm talking about the entire industry. I'm talking about how games come together. I'm talking about programming. Quite honestly, it's discovery. It's discovery as you go through it.
He's Jareding.
We always figure it out. We always figure it out. Like the
Bro, you haven't figured anything out.
I could sit here and just gush about the quality of the people that we have here. It's like, when I go to a Bar Citizen, people always ask me like, is it hard to go out and do this? What I'm doing right now. It's less than 12 hours after a patch went out and was totally borked and whatever, and you've got to go out live and put on a face for the project and whatnot. Is it hard to do that? After 318, I had to do the thing. After the freight elevators with Race for Sten, I had to do the thing and whatever. Is it hard to do that? And the answer is no, it's not hard, because
no, you've been doing it forever. It's quite easy.
I believe in the people here more than anything. It's when you get
The question is like, well, you might, right? Because you work closely with them, you know them as people. And I think the problem here, and like I know some of them as people too, and I go over to bat for them all the time, right? But it does feel like some of the people that are making these decisions and some of the things that happen here, I don't feel as confident as you might. And I think I represent a lot of the members of the community at this point when it comes to that, is I don't have that confidence anymore, because you haven't instilled that confidence in us, if that makes sense. I've had a hard time having that confidence, because look at the state. It's every single patch, right? It's every single patch. It's the same sort of problems and the same sort of things. It's hard to have that confidence. I'd love to, but I don't.
Spend more time with the people who work here than, across teams than most people. Everybody's working on their work. My work is the people. So it's, when I lose faith in the people here, that's when you'll stop seeing me. But it hasn't happened in 12 years. It's not going to happen anytime soon. I love the people here. And they're working on it. If they haven't figured it out yet, they will figure it out. You've already got some tremendous
for sure.
leads.
And I think to be honest, like on server performance, the 6 to 8 issues we're looking at now are definitely the source of the problems.
Do you want to just enumerate what the 6 to 8 issues are? You mentioned it a couple times, and it's just why don't we just use this opportunity?
Of course. I can. Well, I don't want to deep dive into each of them, because
just give me top level.
That's a bit intense if we go down that route. But there's navigation system dispatching of tile configuration changes on planets, which affects how AI uses the nav mesh on planets. So there's a performance call out on that is costing us a chunk of frame in the servers. This is purely based on the servers we know are affected by this problem.
There's a lot of digging.
Yeah.
A lot of digging through a lot of data.
Yes.
To find This is common culprit that you know are going to make a meaningful impact.
Yeah, no, exactly. This is like cross-linking a lot of things. There's this is a pet peeve of mine that I keep pushing on, and we're gonna definitely resolve that from a software point of view. But there's an entity spawner in some of the areas that are affected that are coming in and out of streaming and respawning their spawn set every time.
This is the NPCs that just go, it just
That's-
spouts out.
And one example, I have
Still dealing with that
multiple others, related to this. That's one. The area component we talked about. So it's what we call register with external systems is a phase when the components are a component or an entity is coming online when it's streaming in. It needs to register with external systems. That's a notorious area that is an issue on multiple components. This one is from the area component. Is in that place a problem?
So the first two are NPC related.
Correct.
This one
Correct.
is
This one is more engine and let's call it area configuration related. This one bleeds into the zone lock that we talked about earlier. So those are two, area and zone lock. So this is really tied to the amount of content in the game and the complexity of that content in some areas. Because we're also making more and more complex scenes.
right.
You know, like Space Station and, you know, the content we've put out recently, whether it's TSG or Rockcracker, or like, there's a lot more complex layouts in those elements that contribute a lot to this, and so those are part of that. The ship cleanup is another big one that we're looking at the moment, which is the source probably of the other two, which is the amount of registered entities that have either MFDs and or the flight system active.
Entities that specifically have MFDs?
Yes.
So it's an excessive number of MFDs.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Why isn't MFD so?
Well,
'Cause they're
we
not
don't
very
know
performant?
specifically. I bet that if I went into that area and I looked, there would be a bunch of MFDs that are somehow visible. So that's been these components have a visibility aspect to it, where if you look at it, it's going to replicate for you, but if you don't look at it, it doesn't. Might be a malfunction with that. We're not sure.
Right. So the ship is breaking, but the MFDs are still visible. And
Yeah, it
still-
could be like broken ship MFDs. You know, like we've seen weird things like, you know, everybody knows about the graveyard. There's been other graveyards in other areas, right? So there might be a new one we haven't found yet where there's somehow MFDs end up there, right?
So you have a couple
Oh my
AI
God,
NPC
an
related
MFD
things,
graveyard.
NPCs, and the way they interact
Imagine.
with the surface of worlds.
So if you guys
planets,
don't
and
know,
moons.
if you guys don't know what the graveyard is, like things have just like gone to the center of the sun and it's all there, or they all fall through a planet and they're all in the center of a planet, just consuming resources. Even in Arena Commander, there was like AI spawned in the stations, causing AI performance issues in Arena Commander. Just weird shit that like they don't have the ability to recognize that it happened, and then eventually somebody finds it and you're like, oh shit, we got to fix that, and then fix it. Like these are the things that happen in like, I don't want to be the Jared here, but I'm going to. Like these are like pretty normal things I would imagine that happen in a game development situation. The thing that's ridiculous is that they release something like that to us. And of course we're going to look at it and go, how stupid are they? But in reality, they're not that stupid, right? It's, for me, it's a lot of the decision making around game design that I have issues with, as well as overcomplicating simple things, which again they say they don't, but they definitely do.
NPC spawners, you know, these things that load out, load in, then respawn their entire their entire allotment of AI when they're already out there. So you got some NPC stuff. You got some location stuff. The locations are getting more complex, and the area system is not properly culling them.
Yeah, it's an optimization at this point. Like, the functionality is correct. It's just it's slow.
A lot of.
A lot of it, yeah.
And then there's the ship specific one, the cleanup stuff, and then there's some raw entity stuff that we also suspect is related to the ships, because the ships have the most entities.
And one final one that is fire. So there's been some ships catch fire, and depending on the size of the voxel grid, we've seen the area physics properties of how the temperature system interacts
I
with
knew fire was going to cause
is actually
something.
needs a big optimization and it's costing us frame time. Where that's a combination thing because we internally we can't reproduce it, but we see the cost on some of the game servers that are running slow.
Interesting, but they can't reproduce it internally.
So these are the top 8
Yes.
ish kind of culprits to just
Optimization
raw
here, yeah.
server performance. We can optimize these 8 things. We should see
Big gains.
Big gains. I wasn't going to say big, but I'll let you say it. See
gains,
big gains in server performance.
Yeah. Now the thing with everything with optimization, right? It's a fog of war, right? When you
fix that, that's what was slowing it down. Then you find the next thing ends up.
you get rid of the elephant and behind it is another one.
It's the 7-Up can that was slowing us down. The Pepsi can would have been slowing us down the whole time, but the 7-Up was doing it first. So the Pepsi never got a chance to slow us down.
And
you optimized
it's
7-Up,
actually the Coke
and now
can.
Pepsi's like, my time is here. I can screw you over.
I can now be the one on top.
The choice of a new generation.
Yeah.
That's how old I am. Did you guys have that campaign here? A bunch of children. There's only one nodding head over there.
The same properties apply to crashes, right? Typically when we do like stability checks on game servers, which by the way, other than the 2 big issues that we've had, the baseline stability for 4.8 outside of these 2 events of the missing entity classes and the Idris problem, overall stability has been in a really good range overall, and so we've been happy about this. Other than now, the stats are terrible because of this, so we'll have to take a look. But the same properties apply to crashes. So when we look at top crashes, you're like, oh, we just have to fix this one. It's super high frequency. Then we fix it, and then oh my God, there's 3 more, right? And so it's a fog of war. Optimization and crash stability are like fog of war activity where. Yeah, you've got 7 now. You know what those are. We fixed them.
Again, I keep saying like stability is not as big of an issue for me because they need to keep bringing in features, which is going to bring in instability. It's the fact that things are just genuinely not fun due to poor game design or bugs that have existed for 14 straight years that I just can't deal with anymore.
It might be the end of it. It might not be.
You can get clusters as well, and that's the same on the performance side. We might be looking very, very closely at the servers performing poorly, and we might be fixing things that help those, but that doesn't help at all to the other servers because they might be running into completely different issues. Like there might be something that's happening specifically on those servers that's unique to them that brings them to that low rate, whereas the rest of them don't benefit as much from that. So you always have to sort of look closely at the details and react to those, but proactively try to look at the big picture and sort of take you sort of where are we going overall. Once we fix that cluster there, how do we get all of it to sort of benefit from a smooth ride with zero desync?
Just a ray of sunshine, yeah.
Yes, that's it.
I like Jens. He seems such like a happy guy.
Yeah, it's gonna be all plain sailing.
I wanted to touch on in my notes I've got, because there was other issues in 4.8 that, come from other optimizations that we've done and
Jens is cool. Yeah, he seems like a cool dude.
Other improvements that also contributed to some perception on the patch.
Okay.
So there's one thing that we're battling on the game side is that, we mentioned how we're transforming the game from one model to the MMO model, right? And that means scaling systems. When we say that, we really mean transforming those systems to be service powered, right? So instead of being all in the game server and it's all good, right? We transfer these things to be service powered, right?
So the server no longer has to run transit.
Yeah, like the shopping service.
In part, right? It could be transit, it could be other things, right? Like for example, missions had a part of the mission system needed to be pulled out of there to be able to have server meshed missions, for example, right? So there's a lot of work behind that to basically dissect some services and move them to some game systems and move them to services. Now, interacting from the game client with services that are on cloud infrastructure is kind of a different discipline than being a gameplay programmer doing a gameplay feature, right? Let's say I'm working.
So it wasn't
on
an MMO until 2024.
the main character, the actor in the actor team,
course
like
not.
Jens, for example, and I'm doing a feature around that. That
Doesn't
my
mean they
world
weren't
is kind of
planning on it.
self-contained to the actor. If I'm also doing the replication side of this, which typically our gameplay programmers do both, but I know about the replication side of things, but that's the bubble. It doesn't exist, that bubble, right? When you talk about cloud infrastructure, cloud services that you need to invoke, service APIs to do something, whether it's inventory service, right? Whether it's reputation systems, whether it's friend service, social systems, whatever. That's a different type of programming that tends to always be based in what, for the layman's is asynchronous programming. So not all C++ gameplay programmers are well versed in the asynchronous aspects. More and more today, but it's still always a little bit of a jump. And so we've realized that there's a little bit of fragility in how some of our game systems interact with cloud services. So one of the particularities with this is that you need to design for things that can fail. That sounds horrible, but that's the way it is, right?
What have you missed? Not much.
When you visit a website and
honest,
it's loading assets and one asset doesn't load, your browser is going to retry and you're not even going to see the difference, right? Now, the game in some areas, and I'm going to focus on the one I wanted to talk about today, which is inventory.
Here we go.
Is very fragile in its interactions with the backend systems. And so we had an issue in 4.8 that was, from a backend perspective, extremely minor. We're talking about 100 requests out of millions of requests every 2 minutes would have a problem, right? But the net effect, because that was affecting the inventory, is that people's inventory would get stuck. And so the effect on the game was completely magnified from what the backend team...
Because you can't do anything with your inventory, really.
Well, yeah, so the inventory has this issue. It's not an issue, it's a property where all of the moves that you do in your inventory need to be ordered. They need to be performed in order. And that requirement is extreme because you can't go, put this helmet on the head and then put this other helmet on the head and take this one back and stow it and then move the core armor. And then if the back...
Okay, but serious question, why does no other games have problems with this shit? But we do. Right? That's my thing, is I'm a player. I don't care about this stuff. Some of you guys care about this stuff. I'm happy for you. Good for fucking you. Okay? But in the grand scheme of things, we bought a game we want to play. Okay, great. Why is this more difficult for you than for everyone else? And if you have a reason as to why aren't you fixing that? Why haven't you fixed that yet? Why aren't you addressing that? Why? Those are my things. Is if it's because Chris Roberts wants a coffee cup to be found in the middle of a forest, or because the game is so fucking big that it can't handle it, then at what point are you finally going to pull back on some of those choices and actually make a game? Right? Or are we going to never-endingly wait until tech can catch up to us and the game that Chris wants to make? Because it's very clear that the game in Chris's head may not be possible yet.
And systems were completely asynchronous and do this in parallel, you would end up with mixed results, And so
or we could not have prediction, which would be the other option. But then obviously we run into the problem that I put the helmet on my head and I'm waiting.
Yeah.
You're waiting for the server to catch up.
And I'm waiting.
Right. You're waiting for the server to
While
catch
I'm
up.
doing that, I can't do anything else.
And so
anytime, I'm waiting for my helmet to show up.
And so this minor, like I said, from a backend perspective, 100,
100 times out of 2 million is what you said.
100 out of 2 million.
Every 2 minutes.
Every 2 minutes, right? Which was a heartbeat problem. Anyway, it's been fixed. But the net effect was that you're making moves on your inventory, and then one of the moves stays there to the possible maximum of the timeout, which is 8 minutes in this case. which
Jesus
that's
Christ.
the problem.
It's a long time.
And so now,
in a game.
if you looked at, I mean, backers at this point that have been with us for a long time all run with some display info, and so they see the pending moves debug on the UI, and so they can see,
I
there's a
don't
move
because I
that's
want to
stuck,
play a
right?
game.
And so that's how these things were stuck. If you were unlucky and you didn't move in one of those 2-minute window, I say every 2 minutes, but it was really a 3-second small window. If you didn't move in those 3 seconds, then your inventory was stuck for 8 minutes, which is crazy.
An eternity.
You know, and so that I use that example first to explain it, because a lot of people ask the question, what's happening when this happens? That's what happened. Now we fixed that issue, obviously, so that no longer is the back end issue is no longer occurring, but we still have that weakness on the client.
Right.
So that's one thing we need to solve now is we've realized, Jens and I have had multiple conversations about this, but we've realized that there's a lot of areas in the game, whether it's freight elevators, whether it's inventory management, handling, and I'm not talking about the UI here, I'm talking about what's behind it when you do your moves, like
The UI is where you get to see it.
Yeah.
But it's
And the
actually
UI is
something
ass too.
underneath. Okay.
Yeah. You know, these systems, we've identified a series of weaknesses in how either legacy systems were built because they were built before these services existed, and then asynchronous calls were tacked on in the middle to, you know, get something working. And so we've started to develop a charter that we've started to analyze every game system with this charter, right?
Okay.
It's basically a very simple red, amber, green kind of tracking, right? Where we can look at one system, let's say we look at inventory management. We can ask all these questions, right? And with this, we will identify all the pitfalls that
Freight elevator.
that this system needs to resolve. So without having a bug
Red.
report, I can just look at the code and go, you know what? This breaks this principle. I need to fix this principle, right? So one example of principle is player items are sacred, right? So if I have actions to do, for example, I need to turn in stuff for a mission, I will not delete the items, then progress the mission. I will progress the mission, and on success and confirmation, I will then delete. And then if the
Holy
delete
shit,
fails,
that's
I
what they
need
were
to have
doing?
compensating actions to move forward, right?
No
So that's an
way.
example of like the analysis that we're doing. Asynchronous
deleted-
programming we talked about needs
my
to be
God.
explicit for all paths. So we're evaluating all of that. There's multiple other areas in the charter, but that's one of the things we're putting in place to augment the interactions between game client server and
Goodbye,
services.
Idris Mess.
So that
oh my god.
when things go wrong, and they do, right? That's the nature of internet packets not being delivered, services not being available,
That's
cloud
so
services
funny.
being there or not, that there's no like irreparable breakage, and that the experience can still continue and be resilient.
Flip says, Jared looks exhausted. I'm not the one that was up till 4 o'clock in the morning fixing this thing. You know, it's somebody, what was it earlier? Earlier was like, it's like, this is what happens. Where is it? One of our moderators nuked it. But Wrangle McDangle,
One of our moderators nuked it.
comment says, this is what the community looks like when they start to realize the company they give their money to doesn't really care about them. Sad. This is the CTO who was up until 4 o'clock this morning, you know, bug fixing. You know, not just the directors and the programmers, and he had plenty of people with him and whatnot, but they're up to all.
You're the guy who just sold a $5,000 spaceship in a fucking video game that is completely overpowered compared to anything else by far. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me? If you actually cared about the players, you would make a game that makes sense. Shut up. Come on. It's so unfair. Yes, some people at
hours
the
of
company
night trying
care.
to get this stuff going and whatnot, and then they come here and they
some
do this.
clearly
and
don't.
whatnot. This is not people who don't care. But anyway, that was a comment about
I know
how
what he's
tired I
trying to
look.
say,
This is
but
just
it's
how I
like-
look. I just,
You're
it's
kinda
the- it's
normal.
the
Oh, it's so annoying. You don't care about us. You don't, because you have other things that you also have to care about. Like, imagine working at a retail job and caring about the people that come in. You stopped doing that forever ago, right? and everybody here has worked retail or with the public. You stopped caring about the public a long time ago because you have a job to do. His job, the guy who's fixing it at 4 o'clock in the morning, he cares about his job, right? Some people love their job. Some people love what they do. There's a difference. Because if you actually cared about the backers and the game that they were you were making, you would make decisions that were entirely different than you've made before, right? So it's a weird statement to make that
Gray.
one.
It's, yeah,
I'm sorry.
well, there's more gray now, for some reason. But so this is interesting.
I want to touch on the charter, Jens.
I want
no-
to touch this thing that you said real
There's
real
no
quick.
need for the comment on
Very
that
quick.
guy to
Building.
make any comment about it.
So the system was built for kind of.
Sorry, again, like that backer is frustrated. Why is that backer frustrated? Why is he frustrated? Dive into, like, you don't need to do that on the show, but like, as far as like, that guy's just frustrated, dude. He's upset. And maybe he's saying something that's pretty unreasonable, which it is. It's, you know, to say that nobody at the company cares is fucking crazy, right? Of course some people do. But okay, you're getting banned forever. You're never coming back for a comment like this. Let me find you. There you are. Sorry, dude. Not sorry. Jesus Christ. Like, we're frustrated, but not recognizing why people are frustrated is crazy. And not accepting, like, guys, we get it. We're working our butts off here. You know, Squadron 42 is not done yet, blah, blah, blah. You can make any excuse you want. But, yeah, he doesn't need to make a comment about a negative comment every single show.
Perfection. It expects everything to work the way that it wants to. And because the system was built without the expectation of some level of failure, it ends up, when it gets some level of failure, it fails completely. So you actually get.
He's the
so
mouth,
in a weird
Chris.
way, if you build something with the expectation of no failure, you end up with a lot of failure. Right. And if you build something with the expectation of a little bit of failure, you end up with less failure than you otherwise would, right. because it's more nimble and it can adjust and it's a self-healing, self-healing stuff.
Yeah.
There's this idea of, we don't plan for failure or whatever, and every time I hear something like that, we don't plan for failure or whatever, I'm just remembered of NASA. NASA in the 60s, like, these are people who plan for every kind of failure, and that's part of why they succeeded. Yes. So, what you're talking about just kind of reminded me of this.
For All Mankind,
this
such a good
interesting
show.
Paradigm shift or philosophical shift of creating for some level of failure so that we can be nimble and self-correcting, and then we end up having fewer things like what we're experiencing, where the whole thing just craps out for 8 minutes and stuff. It's an interesting philosophical switch.
I think Benoit is absolutely right as well with the challenges from a gameplay side. Certainly, if you come from a background of running things only on your local machine, we're so responsive, right? Whatever you do just comes back immediately, and suddenly you have exactly. And suddenly you have to work on these premises where your timeout might be 8 minutes later. It's a from a scale
point of view. That's an extreme example.
That's a very extreme example, and you go, how do you, and as well as much as you all, from my point of view as from the gameplay side, is obviously I still want to always be super responsive to the player. So even if it's self-healing under the hood, you should still see everything you do have an immediate reaction in game. So that's why we always predict, and that's why sometimes things go wrong, but we accept that things will go wrong and we roll back. But we try to sort of be right more than we're wrong. So like you said, only be wrong a tiny bit of the time, not all the time.
So, I wanted to touch on the charter, without going into details, but just because people are asking, what are you doing about it, right? And I think that this kind of audit where we can kind of leverage our programmers, not just to build the features, but all, because,
Before he goes on, this is something that I've understood to be a very long process. and I don't think I was necessarily fair to Ben at the beginning. We're like, I'm kind of tired of these episodes. It's a lot of talk, doesn't feel like a lot of action. It can be frustrating as somebody who just wants to play a game. I don't understand this stuff as much. But the thing here that I think is very, very important is that there are 1,000 people at the company that have been doing everything apparently extremely wrong for a really long time. And he has got to come in and clean up not just the insanely bad like code or whatever, but also all of the, well, I guess let's start out with all the processes that they've been doing forever. He's changing them. And then also having to deal with all the mistakes made from the previous processes over the years. This is not going to be something that's just going to be fixed very quickly. I think he's more transparent than anybody. Benoit is for somebody who said he's being more transparent this time. He's always transparent. That's why I think people love these shows, is because they feel the honesty. Whereas when Jared talks, sometimes you don't feel it as much. For the guys who are like, why am I going so hard in on him? Because it doesn't feel genuine. He is a marketing guy at this point, and that's all it feels like.
Gameplay programmers are going to be in their world when they're doing something, and so they're making the feature, they're trying to make it feel good, and then they're like, it works. That's the happy path, right? Now, let me unplug the internet, right? Let me, unplug the internet for 2 seconds and plug it back in, right? Or it's basically, on the online side, we call it chaos engineering, which is more like, let's kill processes and see what happens so that we can recover. On the game side, I think that we kind of need to bring this perspective to the table to every developer so that they can evaluate their own work against, basically a rag sheet of like, explain the longest async chain in this component, and does it have every path handled, and can it be retried, right? Well, just with that, I solved half the bugs that we can see in some of the systems that interact with cloud services specifically are the areas that are there. Now there's way more principles and stuff to look at in the area, but that's what we've been doing, is to basically like bring this so that it's not just the leaders that bring it, the sort of the hammer down of like, you need to do this way and this is what we do. It's more like bring it as a culture throughout the gameplay teams and the engineering teams.
He's trying to change a culture.
We're going to get into our end game here and talk about some. We've been talking about a bunch of generalized stuff.
And I will never, ever call for anybody to be fired. I do not like some people at this company. Would never, ever call for any of them to be fired, ever. Ever. Never would I want to hurt somebody's livelihood. But to change a culture, a lot of times people have to get removed, right? That tends to be the only way to do it. If you actually want to change a culture in any place. So, yeah. And management is a strong influence on culture. And if your management is tough, then starts at the top, right?
We're actually going to get into literal bugs here in a bit and do a little
change the culture starts from the top, not from the peasants. Not always. If the top
before
is the
we
one
get
trying
to that,
change the culture,
that's our last part,
and
then we got to go and whatnot. The conversation that you're seeing here today is the kind of thing that makes me still be here. There's this idea that happens often that any video game company is a monolith. That everybody that works for a video game company all thinks the same thing, all works the same way, all has the same level of experience and philosophies and stuff like that. And if there's anything, if you've watched we just looked at it the other day, it's like 1,600 videos that I've made for this place in this time. If you watch all of those, the first thing you should know is it's not a monolith. We're not a monolith. No studio is a monolith. There are people with different ideas and different philosophies and different aptitudes all working together to try to make this creative thing. You'll see 100 quotes online about how the creation of a video game is more miracle than anything else. That we take this time
I can't right now with these
and
comments,
show that
dude.
we're not perfect.
Lots of miracles are happening
We
then.
take this time and show that even after 14 years, 15 years, we're still learning. We're still developing. We're still changing the way that we work. We're still getting better at stuff. It's easy to weaponize that against us. Oh, well, they don't have any idea what they're doing, or I can't believe they're still figuring this out. You know, this like this. Because I see the comments. I know there's those of you out here that will do that, and there's nothing that I'm going to say or do here today that will stop you from doing that. So, do what you're
14
gonna do.
years.
But
14 years, dude. There's nothing else to say.
I love,
No clear game.
and I think it's more honest, and I think it's more in
Do I
line
hate
with what
Jared?
this project
No.
set out to do back in 2012, to sit here, to have these shows and have these moments and be like, yeah,
I hate
we're
this?
working on it. We're figuring
Yes.
out. We're changing the way we work.
I don't need to hear
we
this.
fell behind in this area. We have to change the way that we program build things for
I don't hate
an
anyone.
MMO as opposed to what we were doing before and stuff like this. I just always appreciate anytime somebody comes on this show and is willing to roll those dice, because there will be people, there are already people in the chat now, there will be people on YouTube, there will be people on Reddit and like this who will take the things said here today and weaponize them. And
Hi.
that's fine. It happens. It's always going to happen. It'll never stop happening. But it doesn't stop
Who's the weapon being pointed
you from
at,
coming
though?
here and being as candid as you are. And
He always feels like it's pointed
I
at
really
him.
appreciate that. We
people in
really
the chat
did
think it
meet
is.
at like 9 o'clock this morning, and for 3 hours talked about everything. Like, where are we still going to do this show? It's how do we do this without being as honest and as candid as we are and stuff like this. It's just, I was like, we just kind of do it.
Yeah.
When you don't
I
know
hate
what to do.
Hold on, let me pause it for this. I hate when people think criticism of the game or the process means personal animus. Exactly. I don't have any personal hatred towards anybody. Zero. But I am so unimaginably frustrated by the excuse after excuse after excuse for the people who are not on camera making the decisions and then the people have to come on camera and fucking eat the shit from us. The people that are here may not be the ones making the decisions that caused us to be in this situation. And those are the people that I am sick and fucking tired of. The people at the top collecting all the fucking money at this company for whatever reason are getting paid more than they probably should for the product that's been delivered, and then put these people in front of the camera to defend the decisions that they make. It's getting old. It's getting old. Right? I don't hate you. I'm none of that stuff. I'm just frustrated. That's it. Jared has nothing to do with the game. I've already said it multiple times. I am attacking the mentality, the things that he's saying, not the person. And you do not need to defend him. You're not his girlfriend. Chill out.
Is the safest bet. So with that said, unless you have something you want to add, I want to get to the last kind of phase.
I got one more thing.
You got one more thing?
That was in my list that I just wanted to touch on.
Turning
which
their
is,
mistakes onto a content
Shardlock.
creator or a YouTuber or somebody on Reddit is fucking insane.
The fact that I'm bringing it
By
up.
all means. What's Shardlock, Benoit?
Well, so I want to say first that Shardlock is it's kind of a community word. We didn't come up
I don't
with
know
this.
if he has a girlfriend. I don't know anything about Jared's
but-
life.
The way we've architected Star Citizen, even though it's an MMO, we operate it from an ops side of things like a match-made game, right? When you come in and you pick a shard or you shard hop to one of your friends, you're just getting one of the shards that's currently running, right? And the process of bringing your character and unstowing it into the shard and then allowing you to unstow items from your inventory down into the shard and putting it back up there and getting out of there, right? It's kind of our attempt at not applying a classic MMO setup, server setup to Star Citizen, where you would create your character on a server, which
Here
then
we
needs
go.
to run at all times, that when it's low population, we need to consolidate, that you need to character transfer or character rename, and this typical kind of MMO grid system, right? It's a company desire to not do that pattern and to instead keep it fluid like it is now. So shard lock is a little bit of a price to pay for the rapid movement between shards. Your character will need to stay in the shard until the hybrid decides that you're properly disconnected.
I hope he addresses
that you've been gone,
the
or that you're
future
coming
here,
back
though.
or not, and then move you back up. Now, in 4.8, we did run into some issues for some players. So there's a subset of players that ended up being shard lock. In this case, it was because of an infrastructure failure, a small knock-on from a change that we made to as part of imprint. But basically, these characters we track where you are with what we call the stow context. And so for the entities that we care about, because we don't care about every entity, your player entity is definitely one we care about, we track where it is in the game world using your stow context. So are you stowed in the global inventory, and in what inventory are you stowed? Or are you unstowed in a shard, and if so, in which shard? The problem that some characters ran into is that some players are not very patient with the system when they go back to the main menu. And so they would go back to main menu and see, oh, your character's still in the shard, right? Or they would kill the client. Sometimes they do that. Kill the client, come back in, and then, oh, your character's still in the shard. I'm shard locked. Character repair. Well, the character repair in that case is the one that would cause the problem, where now the player would never get stowed because the repair would try to repair your character. Anyway, there's a bug there that made it so that now your character cannot be stowed. And so these players were shard locked. Some others ran into another condition. It was a fairly small subset of players overall that got in that situation, but it took us a while to identify the root cause that fixed.
What I think we have to understand here is, and this is why, like, it might sound that I'm frustrated with Jared and not frustrated with Benoit. Benoit's not making an excuse. He's telling you what happened. He's telling, like, we don't have the correct things here. This is what happens. I know what happened, which means I know how to fix it. Jared seems to be making excuses for, like, that's the difference in the mentality between the two. Then fix it already. Well, you can't know you need to fix it until you find out that it's broken. So how do you know that it's not actually happening now? Right? So I get that frustration, and I'm just as frustrated too. But I just think the language that we're using of, like, he's an idiot, he doesn't know, or something like that, just isn't fair, because it's not necessarily what's happening, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's weird.
Been deployed, but I just wanted to mention
Chris,
that
just shut up.
shard lock in
Stop.
and of itself isn't a bad thing. It's what enables us to have the flexibility to bring you into another shard kind of transparently. But we need to wait for the process to finish on your current shard before we can move you up. Right now, we've put in place. We are in the process of putting in place active monitoring for players that get unstowed in shard and stay there for a long period of time, so that we can attempt self-corrective actions if we run into that condition again, so that this way we don't need to chase the actual source. We can actually get some self-healing in place. But I just wanted to touch on what shard lock is and why it's kind of normal, and that it's better to be a little bit patient with it than to jump to character repair right away.
Okay, so he doesn't address it. So here's the thing that he's not addressing, is that we have like 1 million shards right now, right? And for them to not go the traditional MMO route is totally fucking fine, because they shouldn't have as many shards. So while it's like normal for what the future of the game might look like, it isn't normal now and doesn't feel good now at all, right? So it's like, the idea here is that there might be 2 US regional shards, 2 European shards, 2 Asian shards, and that's it. If they actually deliver on their goals for what Star Citizen wants and is trying to be. Does that make sense? So getting stuck to that shard, we really shouldn't be hopping so many shards anyway. So for them to design the game for the current doesn't make any sense in that case, because it would just be the complete waste of fucking time. The idea here is to have as few shards as possible. That's like, guys, where he's wrong is if we end up with 20 shards in each region, then they should go the traditional MMO route because you have a traditional MMO setup, but their goal is to not go the traditional MMO setup. Or, right? So then they have to develop for what they're actually trying to give. Oops. There you go.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. That was...
Me neither. Sounds really good. It's not shard lock, unless we have to.
Yeah.
And if you shard lock, just wait for a bit and you'll be good.
Yeah.
So much
just
of what
wait
we've
for a
talked about
bit.
today is
How long?
essentially growing pains of this. At the end of 2024, you know, the leadership of the project had a good, strong look at everything that we were doing and the direction that we had been going and stuff like that, and
changed
said,
completely.
is this going to get us where we want to go? And it was decided, no, we're not going where we want to go. So we switched things up in January 2025. And, you know, after Rich went on stage and said, this is the road to 1.0, we've been on this road. All of these major content drops, Stormbreaker to ASD to Rockcracker and stuff, these are all locations in the 1.0 story. They have content that you're playing now and everything, but these are all part of this larger roadmap of the major story of 1.0 that will come online with that, and the gameplay that's designed to take you through the 5-star systems and like that. We are actively building this 1.0 out in front of everybody and stuff, and we've made more progress in the last 18 months than we did probably in the 4 years prior to that. I'd see if I get in trouble for saying that, but it's what I believe.
It's also true. So,
Well, you always want to accelerate, so.
Yeah, well, you know, it's just, and the results have spoken for themselves. There's this thing.
they have spoken, and it's
There's this thing they don't really talk about in
partly
MMO so much.
embarrassing.
It's concurrency and daily active users. Concurrency
would
is
talk
how many
about it except
people
for a
you have
company?
online at any given time. And daily average users is how many individual people come in and interact with your game during the day. Normally these numbers are not revealed publicly. It's just if you go and you search for
bro, every fucking game studio on Steam shows those numbers. What do you mean? Of course they're shown publicly.
World of Warcraft DAU and whatnot or whatever, you're not going to find that. You're going to find a bunch of estimates and stuff. One of the things that we're discussing internally right now is actually exposing that. Because even we spent a lot of time talking about the problems in 4.8 and whatnot. And 4.8 had its share of stuff. Obviously, we don't need it. We literally just sat here and talked about it. But it also had some tremendous successes. The daily average users, for instance, I'm waiting for the numbers. I just sent the request. Thank you, Michael Smith and whatnot.
Michael Smith is a former streamer, by the way.
That's it.
All right, if I get in trouble for doing this and whatnot. So versus 2024 numbers, let's just go by month here to show what this progress, because
how is this going to be skewed is what I'm wondering. How is this going to get skewed?
It's one thing for me to say that it's been the great 18 months and whatever, but if you don't have data to back it up, I'm just
he's going
bullshitting.
percentages?
I'm just saying words. So here's the
It's
data.
not relevant.
In January, 2024 versus 2026, saw a 30.1% increase in daily average users. 30.1% between what we were, the number of users who were logging in and playing Star Citizen before and after this last, and as part of this last 18 months of stuff. In February, 2024 to 2026,
10 to 13 active players.
63.8%.
10 to 16 players.
Increase in daily average users and stuff like that. March, 50.2%. April, 59.8%. May's always a big month for us. It was a modest increase of 14%. Because May and November always draws everybody back and whatever. Never had a problem getting people in May and November. And then in June, which is when 4.8 and like this, 55.4% increase over 2024.
Daily active.
A 25.1% over 2025.
Not how long they logged in.
So it's been 25 and 25 over the last 2 Junes and whatever. The game is unequivocally going in the right direction. It's the amount of users we have, the amount of people that are engaged.
If you are only using these metrics to determine your game's going in the right direction, you are fucking cooked.
This isn't new signups. These are people who are actively playing the game.
Cooked.
Is increasing every day on average by 50%.
This is why
which
big
is a
studios
growth that
close
Star Citizen
and
has
fail.
not had at any point. Like this. And I imagine some aspect of that has to affect all of these issues. Issues that were this big before become this big when all these people go in. But the reason those numbers are improving is because of the work that you're doing and Rich and Rick and Ian and all those guys are doing to make Star Citizen into the thing that it was always supposed to be. And we weren't going in the right direction like this for the last 18 months there, and it's proving out in the numbers and whatever. So it's my heart's. I don't know if you can hear my heartbeat right now. I'm way out over the ledge at this moment. I don't know.
Why is saying percentages going out over the ledge? Like, come on.
If we're gonna sit here and we're gonna talk about everything that was wrong and whatnot and stuff like this, I don't think it's fair without also saying that these guys out there, yeah, they've got some work to do. There's some bugs to fix. There's some performance optimizations that are needed, but they are killing it. You are killing it. And so the numbers speak for themselves. So thank you, and we'll see if I back next week for another show.
I mean, there are a lot more players, that's for sure.
There are a lot more players. There are so many more players now than there was a year ago. And it's just, I feel like that has to play, that has to say something about how successful we've been, even in spite of all this stuff, even in spite.
Here's why I fight against this. They use this as ammunition against critical feedback. This is used to say the people making feedback posts are not relevant. That's the issue that I have with this. And that's why I get so fucking angry at him, because this has been him for the last year. This is not me hating him. This is not me angry at him. This is me being angry at what is being said and what it means. What it means is that the players who do care and do care to share their voice are being silenced by numbers that could just be some fucking dude logging in for 10 minutes going, wow, the game's still shit, and then logging out again. Right?
Of my
That's
very
my issue.
Clear frustrations.
Yeah.
Poor Seb and Lauren and whatnot.
You're a fucking Eve
they
player.
got a
Eve
message
has
from me about an hour and a half
5,000
before
active
show.
users, probably.
Strike the set. We're doing something different. We're
Come
not doing the show. It's like and they're just like, what? So thank you.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were more than Eve,
allowing me.
to be honest.
That said, before we go, I have a letter. I want to read, and then we're going to get into a thing. This is from
Fuck me, I have 4 accounts.
the lead producer on Star Citizen. So this is the producers are at all levels. You've seen directors. You don't see a lot of producers. You don't see a lot of producers on.
We know this. We know who
the
this
shows
is.
and whatnot. Usually because they're too busy running around making sure everybody else is doing their work, and like, I don't got time for you. We tried to get Phil here today
Yeah,
for
Phil.
this, and like this, and
me
again,
instead.
too busy going through and making sure everything. But He had
What's
a
that say
le-
about me?
yeah.
Wait a minute. I'm also really busy.
You're almost never here, Jens. You're clearly very busy. Honestly, it's been a while that doesn't seem to have anything going on.
That's why he's up in the middle of the night.
I know. So I'm gonna read this
He's
letter from
gonna
Phil, and that's gonna go.
jump
We're gonna go
across
into our
the
last
table.
section here. Okay. So after the release of 4.8.0, we reassessed our bug prioritization process. We're into the bug phase of the show here. Instead of having priority determined by the development team and validated by QA, we handed over the selection, some elements of the selection and prioritization in certain categories of bugs to the player experience team. The
Thank
player
fucking
experience team
Christ.
is internally always pushing and advocating for issues that players are most impacted by.
Do you know how fucked those people have been for years? They created a player experience team and ignored them for years. For years. Do you know how many times I've become frustrated? Like, why does this team exist if nothing good is happening from them? Like, this seems like such a waste. And then I would get messages like, "Hey, man, I'm trying." Like, you know, like they would feel hurt by what I would say, but it was not about them. It was about, why isn't anybody listening?
So this should, in theory, address a perceived disconnect between us as developers fixing a lot of issues and players feeling like little has improved.
Yep.
Now, that's not to say that the priorities in the past were detached from what players reported on Issue Council, Spectrum, or Reddit, but clearly, things weren't working as well as they could have been. With 4.9, we will work through a newly refined list of issues affecting instance hangars, freight elevators, quantum travel, star map, inventory, docking, exploits, login flow, and issues that falsely destroy your ships and more.
Is this a fucking SaltEMike Twitch stream right now? Everything listed is something I've been bitching about forever, and I know I'm not the only one who feels about it. Holy shit. And even, I don't care if they even fix it. Investigating it is enough. They haven't even investigated.
On top of that, we're tracking a longer list of quality of life issues with new players report regularly.
Ooh,
Many
a list that
veterans
new
know
players
a lot
report.
of
That's a
convoluted
great one.
workarounds to some of these issues, but really, they shouldn't have to deal with those to begin with. And because we want to ensure
Wow.
Star Citizen is as new player friendly
Talk
as
is
it
not
can
action.
be,
100%.
we're tackling a wider range of common problems that impact this first hour or so of any session. So in addition to the things we're going to go on, there's a new effort about things that specifically affect the very first hour.
Cool.
There are about 80 issues remaining on our priority list. And while we will tackle a lot of them for 4.9, we want to avoid just playing whack-a-mole with some of those bugs. Fixing a lot of bugs is not the same thing as fixing the root causes behind the symptoms that appear as bugs. For instance, freight elevators have seen around 70 or 80 bug fixes this summer.
Yep.
But due to the reactive nature of that endeavor, players don't feel like it's nearly as stable or reliable as it should be.
'Cause it's not,
Now,
yeah.
freight elevators that have a lot of interactions with other systems will need to be made reliable, but they're a core gameplay mechanic and must be stable at all times. I misread that sentence, but I'm going to keep going. On the flip side, we had a similar situation with Transit in 2024 and early 2025 where we fixed a lot of bugs that didn't seem to make a difference. We then invested that time into building better debugging tools and self-repair flows, that's the self-healing I mentioned before, and yielded a much more stable system, even though on paper, way fewer bugs were actually fixed. We want to repeat this methodical approach with other systems like freight elevators, hangars, and more.
Hell yeah.
For that reason, we don't expect everything to be magically
you.
solved for 4.9.0, and I
Whoever
wouldn't
you
read it
are.
if he did. We will
Thank you so much.
continue this initiative beyond that into 4.10 and beyond, but we're more confident that in this new the same approach that we use for Transit to bring these systems in line with the scale and complexity requirements that Star Citizen has in 2026. Now, what we're about to see.
Do you know what they did with Transit? They spent like a year redoing it, right? Basically, they finally were like, all right, we can't keep holding this thing up with Band-Aids. We got to actually do it. But then they gave us one of the pieces of it early. So, awesome. Great initiative to hear. Great initiative to hear. Let's see what the action is, right? On paper, what he's saying sounds fucking awesome. Let's see if you actually pull it off.
Or what we're about to talk about, see, there's nothing to pay on thing.
We get to see in 4.9.
What people are working on today. Do you have your dashboard up?
I do.
You want to hold your dashboard up for just hold it up for this camera right here. Stay on this camera.
Okay, it just ended. So we have to go back to it.
About to see, or what we're about to talk about, see,
Here we
there's
go.
nothing to put on the thing, is what people are working on today. Do you have your dashboard up?
I do.
You want to hold your dashboard up for just hold it up for this camera right here. Stay on this camera. No, stay on this camera. There you go. Hold that. Hold your computer. No, that camera right there. It's closer.
A bit.
Can you see it?
Forward.
You see it? Oh, that doesn't
That's
really look like
great.
anything. It's
That looks
exposed
great.
wrong. Okay, switch to that one. Switch to Benoit now. Look, Benoit's closer camera.
Oh my God.
Benoit's camera. Benoit's camera. No, it's still overexposed. Right.
well.
Anyway, this is a dashboard of what people are working on today. So these particular bugs were prioritized in line with the player experience team. This is a new initiative inside the basically, as Philip said, not just what issue council says and what dev thinks, but we're actually adding a third kind of pillar in here, and that's, hey, the player experience team, like the community team, they're both involved in this. It's you are the ones who are seeing what they're anecdotally saying on Spectrum, on Reddit,
Yep.
on Twitch, on YouTube and stuff. Come in with that, atypical information, that anecdotal information, and so we can apply the issue council stuff with the developer stuff, with the anecdotal stuff, and find a new way to prioritize which bugs get fixed. So we're going to try
I
this.
like this.
We're going to see how it works, and to do more than just say, hey, we're going to do it in a way. We're going to go through and tell you what people are actively working on today, and then you can tell us whether we're on the right track. Benoit, what do you got?
Well, so yeah, I thought we would take a look at a couple of those. So I've got all the categories that you listed, and
Yeah, give me the category first so I can prime my
right,
mind
prime
into the
prime your
right
mind
area.
to the right segment. Okay, good. So hangers. I'm gonna start with hangers.
Okay.
Tough start. Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
So now I'm gonna sort of pick the ones that I think are interesting in the list, right? In each segment. So we're gonna take a look at this. So
These aren't in any particular order. This is just
no.
This is just some of
they're
what people are
being
working
worked
on today,
yeah,
right now.
Exactly. So PU multi-locations, instance hangers, exterior hanger doors remain closed while interior hanger door opens. So that's when your hanger interior doors open, but the gateway outside is still locked out.
Yeah, so they belong to two different parts, right? You have the exterior.
I haven't
you have the
experienced
interior.
this
The
one.
interior
Have you
is
guys?
yours. You can control
your
that
instance.
in your instance.
I see
The
it for a
exterior
split second
needs
and then
to
it
be
opens.
synchronized with your interior door. So what most likely happens there is, for some reason,
times
your
this patch?
interior thinks you've been given the right to this gateway, or you could have been given a right to a different gateway. And there's an exterior door opening somewhere to a nothing,
Yeah.
and your door is opening to a closed door.
Right.
So there's a few things that could happen there, and normally it's that sort of handshake between the exterior and the interior
Which
via
happens
the
by
notorious ATC.
notorious ATC.
I see Jocksfin in chat says that's a rare issue to happen, but W if you fix it. It's rare for Jocksfin, but we have the luxury of having logging for every single player in the game. And while you've been lucky enough that it's rare for you, it is not for many others.
But this one goes with his little brother, overlapping hangers.
Yeah,
So player
that one.
reposition when landing in hangar
I always
ATC
have that
given,
one.
but seen as trespassing in someone else's hangar results in being repositioned.
I
which
lost a
I
bunch
think
of
is
Wicklow shit that way.
sibling.
Yeah, definitely, because you're looking at a situation where you think your interior is being given a certain gateway. You're heading there,
Yeah.
but it's actually someone else's.
Yeah.
Fargan,
Awesome.
yeah, same.
So you're like
Yeah, not good.
correctly trespassing, but obviously incorrectly been told
The trespassing
that was
system,
yours.
rock solid.
Trespassing correctly.
It's
Incorrectly
like
told
Johnny
that
on
was
the
your
spot.
hanger.
Hey,
Okay.
you're in the wrong hanger, dude. But you're not supposed to be in the wrong hanger.
Yeah, it happens
And
too frequently,
then the
Walker,
third
for sure.
trifecta in this segment, which if you put them all together, is players can get stuck at repositioning player indefinitely after getting impounded. Sorry. And so if you get impounded, there's a chance that the server will never
I've had this happen to me.
complete the repositioning that's supposed to take you out of your hangar.
Yep, I had this
Most
happen.
likely in this case, one of our charter elements, which is that there's an asynchronous call, waiting for a callback that never happens. There
Hey,
should be a
Jim.
timeout so that it can be retried and complete.
Yeah.
In this case, it gets stuck there.
Well, it can also be validation. For some reason, someone has not given us the,
Hey, Jen,
the
I can't show it.
position that were created are no longer in a valid position. Because I think one of the rules is you will not be repositioned until we know there's floor underneath you.
Right.
So until there's floor,
And that's
Or
a
ground.
learning, because I'm sure that we repositioned before without checking that. And
yes,
that led to some interesting ones.
yes, that was,
Corrosion on Twitch says, I entered my hangar last night.
I got timed out to the stream for saying watch you guys Knight Rider might be watching. That's actually hilarious. I like their vibe. They do love their jobs. They do. Like a lot of these guys are working at a game studio like this because it's like they're trying to do insane shit that's really difficult. And they love the challenge or whatever, and that's what's happening.
And the entire hangar despawned, and someone else came into the same hangar as, and I was EVA in space on the internal geometry of the station.
That's funny.
That is definitely related to this.
Yep.
it sounds like his positioning position wasn't amazing
Right,
in that
yep.
case.
Yeah.
Also does disprove my floor,
Sure.
because he clearly did not have floor.
Right.
Okay.
This auto refreshes. Interesting. Okay. Maybe there's been progress.
Okay.
So next one is the one, my personal hangar pet peeve is retrieving vehicle while another occupies the hangar platform will cause the retrieved vehicle to instantly spawn and clip through the vehicle occupying the platform.
All right. So F's in chat if that's ever happened to you.
That's definitely
keep doing
happened. Always.
what you're doing.
Okay. And so this is basically typically
That's what I thought. Thank you, chat.
The whole chat was
typically-
going, I guess.
Interesting. Good to know.
So typically this
Can't see
happens when you use the ASOP terminal outside of your hangar. And
Okay.
for some reason your hangar was stowed with a ship on the pad, which normally shouldn't happen, but in this case happens. And so there's a lot of missing checks here where basically we don't check if there's a vehicle there. And so it gets spawned into a direct intersection, which is also very bad for the server because it cannot resolve that. And so one of those two ships is either gonna go. The dreaded pink destruction, if you remember that.
Well, there's still got F's in chat, so I'm going to say that was a high. That's been correctly identified as a high priority.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got? And again, in case you've nodded off after 2 hours here, we're going through the bugs that are actively being worked on today. Not today, ethereally, like on June 18th. Right now, there are literally people on these things right now.
Cool.
Player loses access to persistent hangar at primary residence. Is a classic one.
Oh
my
my
character is
God.
actually in this state right now.
The worst.
Where is your hangar? Have you found it?
Area 18.
But is it actually still there?
Yes.
Yes, it's there, but it's on the specific shard. I wonder if they actually know this issue, because what happens is with this one is your hangar is only on a specific shard, and once you are removed from that shard, you can never get that hangar back until you find that shard. So you have to hop and hop and hop and hop and hop until you get back on the shard of which it was stowed in and left in. And then you find it, but then you leave it again and it's gone. So the fact that Benoit currently has the problem himself, I am so curious of what he says next. That's why I paused it. Because this is you know, for those of you guys that don't know, it's like a really big pain in the ass for our org. Because our org has an org account that we share with a number of different people that we collect items and give money to our players for and things like that, and we collect them via a hangar and via a hangar at our home location, and boom, we lose it all the time, and it's a huge fucking problem. So yeah, let's see what he ends up saying.
Or is it gone?
No, the hangar is actually there, but I never spawn in it in my case. But I think that in the case of these, for most players I've discussed with, the hangar is actually either stowed in another inventory somewhere else for some reason. So that's the hunch so far. We'll see what the team actually comes up with, but that's one that we definitely want to solve. Now I've got more on the hangar side, but I figure in the interest of time, I would keep going with the other categories. We've got login flow related issues. So we talked a bit about shard lock. That's one of them. So basically being a bit more communicative about shard lock and no longer having shard lock at all for players that stay in the shard. 64,008 spawn resolution error. and his little brother 64006 disconnection, again resolve player location. I can speak to this one a little bit. This is typically a symptom, so if we fix this issue specifically, the display will change. But what actually happens is that when you connect to a game shard, the replication layer, so the hybrid that's in front of it, is going to coordinate bringing your character into the game world. But he doesn't know to start which of the 10 servers he's running your character should be on. And so he needs one of those servers to help resolve your location so that we can unstow you in the right area in the tree and then hand off authority to the server that's managing this region. The way this is done is that the replication layer will hand this work off to any of the game servers on the shard. Now, when we have Idrises blowing up servers left and right, there's a very high chance that the server this will be handed off to is dead or is in the process of dying and is rebooting. And so what happens in this case is that the player will get to the end of the context establisher task, the CETs, and he will get a 64008 or 12 error. And so we need to make this a bit more robust on that side so that either we know which servers are alive completely, and so that if a server is doing a server reboot, we don't assign them.
So there's nothing we could do.
That would be one thing.
For those 60K errors.
But also trying to streamline that, right, so that it's a bit more efficient.
Yes. If a server is dead, we shouldn't assign people to it.
Small one I
so
wanted to touch on here was friends list showing 0 out of 1, right, instead of the player counts per shard. So we're rejigging this bit. It's going to come back. This is a temporary thing.
Is that a priority fix though? I mean, what is that?
In the login flow section, it is.
All right. Well,
it's been reported.
Sure, but it's part of this initiative. Yes. Part of this initiative is to make sure that.
My favorite is Jared asking like what should be a priority or not when he doesn't play the game. So why would that be a priority? Well, I am trying to join my friends, or I'm trying to join my a group of my org mates on a server that has enough room for me to get on it. I'm going to try not to be mean to him because I am too mean to him, okay? But he just doesn't get it. You know? And that's, if I don't know how many people are on a server and I have 10 people in my party, but there's only 8 spaces left, you know? That's the reason to know.
People are on the most,
Correct.
important stuff like this. Give me one tell me somebody's working on docking.
Correct.
Like, again, docking's not important.
The very first one.
Okay.
Unable to dock using docking collars.
That is problematic, isn't it?
Correct.
Could argue that.
Yeah. We looked at this morning and it was actually resolved when we were talking. It is now real.
But how important?
So we're gonna have to dive into that. But basically, docking is a subject that's always coming back. And this patch has been also contributing to the overpopulation of ships because players would just, basically land on pads and leave the ships there, or, where there's no impound. And so that's a big issue. So first one is unable to dock using docking collars.
So I can quickly just go on. So when you say it's resolved and then reopens, so what happens there is the developers, to the best of their abilities, found the issue. They've fixed the issue, they've tested the issue locally, and then gone, it's solid. Mm-hmm. I know how to
works on my machine is what they said.
My fix has been validated. I've now resolved the issue. But obviously, in this case, what sounds like the feature is not working at all, clearly there is a situation that
it shouldn't be marked as fixed,
or that doesn't happen on a local machine. Again,
until it stops happening to us.
You don't have
it works on my machine, but the second it got up to network validation, it fell down.
That said, though, I will say that we have a very, very impressive setup for locally running what is a replica of what we play in live, which is amazing. It's an amazing system.
There's an entire pseudo live environment right here
with the vehicle, with the experience team.
Dev kits.
Yep.
You have no control of that though.
Unfortunately, in this case, clearly
keep fighting. That's it.
Is there one or two more for docking?
Yeah. After manually docking a vehicle, there is a chance for the docking bridge to lose collision, causing the actor to start to EVA. most likely close to another issue we've seen on the command module about managing physics skip lists, which is how we, elements we want to skip from collision in certain cases from a given perspective. Yeah, probably related.
Is this when you're trying to dock and it ends up just yeeting you out into space?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay,
So someone's working.
You don't want the docking collar to collide with your ship and cause lots of problems there, right?
Yeah, you get
there's
purpled,
a
right?
period in time when the two are trying to get together, and
it's just people just need to get good and stop.
they have to dock perfectly.
Cargo services will not respond to hails, making players unable to request cargo loading zone related to ATC end docking in this case.
Yep.
That's another one we're looking at.
Hull C problems still existing.
Freight elevators?
Freight elevators, let's skip to that.
Okay, I know there's people who absolutely love the Hull C. I love the idea of it. What is the deal with one ship having a unique way of things working only for that ship? Like, the way the Hull C works either has to start working for all ships or no ships. Right? Is how and then maybe that'll get like the love that it actually deserves. So, yeah. Automated loading, please, for all ships. Come on.
So hauling missions
weird to have, like, one
no cargo to
ship
pick
have
up
that
at the
unique
collect location.
experience and nobody
So
else.
this is basically when you get to your mission location and it's like, hey, pick up this Adonite from this location, and you get there and there's nothing to pick up. So
There's somebody on that right now.
yes.
Again, everything we're talking about in this section has somebody actively assigned to it working on
Fuck
it.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's awesome
That's
to
a
hear.
bridge between mission and freight elevator, which is interesting, which is, requires specific people.
Except for the problem where they automatically mark it as fixed because it worked on their machine, and then we get it and it's not fixed. So having somebody on it, it doesn't mean as much as as it actually means to have it be fixed, right? So
In this case, freight elevator is not working and displaying an overload error, preventing cargo pickup. Do you want to speak about this one? Because I think we talked about this to death.
Well, I think we talked about the overload error is one of those that's a little bit too generic. That can imply many different things.
We don't know
similar
what's
to the
wrong with it.
ATC or the ASOP saying your ship is unknown.
Right.
It becomes a bit of a catch-all, and
People pull up and
I'm glad
it's
they're
like
aware.
they
It's
pull up
always
and it
good
looks
to
like
know
it's like
that
a
they
small
know.
box and whatever, but they're getting an overload error. The system thinks the small box is a much
Sometimes
bigger
you
box.
think they're not
kind of thing.
listening.
And like Philip said
You
in the letter you so eloquently read out, obviously we fixed tons and tons of bugs on freight elevators as part of a long-going initiative.
Yeah.
And we probably fixed lots of overload issues as part of that. But because overload is a catch-all.
Reminder, the guy who made freight elevators no longer works at the company, works at Blizzard, and was said on an SCL to basically be the single fucking person that can fix it and nobody else. So when he left everybody with a pretty shitty experience. And I imagine that's why we've had it so bad for so long. And yeah, this isn't any like internal knowledge or anything. I actually don't have any on this front at all. But yeah, it's all external. They said it to us openly. And then he went to Blizzard, and I can only imagine that they were left with his thing that only he knew how it worked. That happens sometimes, right? Like things with YouTube. People can't change certain things on YouTube because it's like super old code. Those people don't work there anymore. EVE Online, same thing. I've heard that excuse. We don't want to touch it because we don't know what's going to happen.
Well, unless you get more
And
granularity.
this
you
will
know
be
what it
affected
is.
by people throwing the water bottles down.
Yeah,
I was
well,
going to say, because that was
can't
that
do anything
thing. That
about
was
it.
that thing a year ago when people would put the bottle on top and just kill the entire.
Yeah. Well, it's a variation of that, really, because the freight elevator looks at the volume, right, and will make sure that it's got stuff that you own in it and that there's no overload on it. So that's one of the things.
It does have good cleanup to the point where it was cleaning up players recently.
See, that's an example
cleaning
where
up
like there's
players.
another bug further down, which is you have a chance to lose your cargo by activating the freight elevator kiosk. which is basically a malfunction of that cleanup to prevent the overload. So, that needs to be solved.
That I like you just casually mentioned the freight elevator eating cargo.
That's the worst.
That's.
Well, for me, that would be at the top. Right?
I mean,
because that goes against.
I mean, I don't need to be Wickelow's PR agent here, but the reason there's
it's true what he's about to say, though.
The reason for a lot of the bad sentiment about Wickelow is because the freight elevator is eating the cargo.
Yes. Wickelow's a great idea.
It's easy to say, well, this is a Wickelow problem. It's not a Wickelow problem at all. Wickelow's a disembodied head and torso behind it.
You don't think it's a sleight of hand that he's going like, I'll have some of that.
And whatnot. It's this freight elevator issue.
He's yoinking it.
This is.
Or maybe Wickelow runs a 000 graveyard and we didn't know about it.
Well, Wickelow's secretly my boss, and he's the one that's threatening to fire me every time.
No, man, that is exceptionally frustrating.
Yes, this violates the first principle in the charter we're putting in place, which is.
Let me tell you something. The core reason why this fucking guy is talking about metrics constantly in 2025, Wickelow. I'm telling you, they gave you content to farm to get a reward with at the end. That is the only time that exists in this game. It's the most MMO game-like thing they've ever done, which of course is going to increase concurrency.
Yeah. Player items are sacred.
But that also highlights that in the same inventory, there's this fragility in the transition between the physical world and the virtual kind of UI world that a lot of the sort of inventory lives in. If sort of backend.
If crafting worked, I would play
visualization
more.
of the backend.
Or if mining wasn't so shit, I should say.
And the physical item.
I don't want to spend. We're over our allotted time and stuff. And you literally have an airplane to catch to go back, but it's. I'm sorry. The freight elevator disappearing cargo thing is my major thing. And again, when I do my simpleton's hat on it, it seems like it would just be. It's like, okay, like you got an order of operations. You've got to delete. Shouldn't the delete just be the absolute last? Shouldn't you just complete every other action that you're supposed to do? Your mission checking, blah blah blah, and then delete is at the end. It sounds like delete's just happening too early.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it's a function of the cleanup.
Yeah, it could be the cleanup, right? And it's something added to prevent another issue now causing an issue that's worse than what we were trying to prevent in the first place. That we come back to.
That makes more sense. Okay.
Again, what Philip said in his letter. This
later.
is one of the places where we want to go back and kind of go like, right. So it might mean that in short term you're not seeing like bing, 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 lots of like individual fixes, but we're going to go like, what's actually at the very bottom of this? Where is it?
So it looks like it's an issue with Wickelow, but it's actually an issue with the freight elevator. That's actually an issue with the cleanup system.
Yeah, exactly. So can we make the cleanup system?
So the cleanup system is giving the freight elevator a bad rep, and the freight elevator is giving Wickelow a bad rep, and the issue is okay.
Yeah. Or maybe we can find a way that we don't need the cleanup at all.
Yeah.
All right.
Just one last one on freight elevators before moving out is freight elevators being inoperable. Going inoperable completely, which is still a thing. Which we've had multiple fixes for, but
very much
that's
a thing
one that we definitely need to close out. Okay. Should I jump into QT and star map?
I was going to say let's do QT and star map.
Mm-hmm. So quantum travel route resets after setting route. That's
it's annoying when the sat nav does that.
Yeah, that's
not good.
It's like it's not exactly. I was about to say it's not game breaking. It is game breaking.
This is my favorite. The guy who doesn't play the game trying to pretend like he does.
You can't get to where you're going. That's pretty darn game breaking. But it ends up working after a second or a third or a fourth attempt and whatever. That's which is what I mean by the thought was it's not game breaking. But it's just one of those things. It just makes things look so bad. It's like
it needs to be flawless.
It should just be.
Because that's again a traversal system, right? The star map becomes like the routing system. So,
and I think again from gameplay point of view, I don't want to sound super apologetic or anything, but that routing is one of those that it's written for a few technology iterations ago. Now,
Yes,
so,
it's been time to redo it.
we got some interesting changing coming with
Yeah.
one
It
just-
of the future.
it undermines-
was really hype, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
Little seemingly
changes
simple
coming.
things like small things, not simple. Small things like
When I tell you that is the first time that they have communicated something like that in the longest time, but also not saying when, which is very frustrating. It's been so long. I feel like we've been complaining. I certainly have been complaining about QT for a while, and it feels like it's just like, Argo Moth, get attack Raylan, Ironclad.
that just really erode confidence
Yeah.
in anything. Like if I can't even plot where I want to go, and you can't
Yeah, exactly. XLB, it's pain, man.
get me there, it's like it's just
How about the
so-
routing to like
Also, the first one is it resets.
Bunch of OMs and-
next is doesn't plot around obstacles.
there you go.
Next is while in station, destination on opposite side won't set route.
Yep,
Uh,
they got them all.
those
all
are
the
the
problems.
main ones, I think.
Yeah,
there's
all the
there's
big
more
ones.
obviously being worked on, but
Those are the big
main
ones,
ones I
though.
wanted to call out. The on QT, tunnel exit can be in the same system as entrance, where you basically go through the
jump
quantum
point tunnel.
jump
He meant
successfully. Right, you're piloting it
He
right.
means
You're
jump
doing all
point.
the things right. You get to the end, and then you're back in standard.
just said the wrong thing. Means jump point.
Obviously, that's not great. So we're
That's
looking into
huge.
that at the moment.
I mean, forgive me for being blunt, hasn't some version of that bug existed since we added jump points in 4.0?
Yes.
Yes.
Different source cause though, I believe.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where you fix that cause, and then you fix 7-Up, and then Pepsi shows up, and you fix.
The big thing I've noticed that people are I think they found the fix, like the workaround is you wait till the gate closes, you open it, you switch to SCM mode to not so you don't get pulled in, wait about 10 seconds, allow the other side to load in, and then go through. Then go back into nav, go through the cycle, it'll pull you in, and I haven't had an issue since. Could be onto something there.
Pepsi, and then yeah. So it's
Well, that's why
And thank you,
coupled with this
Gandalf.
effort
Yeah, that was you.
of prioritizing these issues, there's also the robustness evaluation we're doing across the board, right? Because it's not just about getting the bugs fixed and then they break again. It's about trying to change the culture behind how we fix them, and then sort of what we check in the periphery of the fix, right? So make sure it's root cause analysis, and that it's not just a patch on top of another one, right? So that's quantum in general. I got more if you want to keep going.
Star Map. Oh, well, I guess that was Star Map.
That was Star Map and quantum. Yeah.
We haven't said one word about exploits.
We haven't said one.
Okay,
word
well, we
about
did.
exploits.
Technically, the part where you could buy the weapon or whatever item it was, and then you could break it down, and then you could sell the broken down materials for 4 times what it.
But that's
I didn't
that's
think
worse
exploits
than an
were a
exploit.
tech
That's
talk.
legal and legit in this case, because we put those prices in, right? So it's not an exploit in this case, but we are tracking several
You put the bugs
Uh,
in that caused the exploits.
potential
but-
exploits that
with that
range.
logic.
We're not going to go into details into exploits because that's kind of an area that we don't want too public about.
Yeah.
You don't want people to be using those exploits if they are confirmed or.
Yeah. Well, we benefit from those people not knowing we know what we know. It lets us track, it lets us learn more about it, it lets us find not just that cause of it, but that cause of it and that cause
It lets you ban the guy who is exploiting and then unban him so he could sell his account.
of it. When it's very easy to be frustrated when you see an exploit go and continue. It's like, why the hell isn't CIG doing something about it? When it's like, well, no, we are. We're baiting the hook. It's like if we smack this cause of it now, then we never get to see this one, and we never get to see this
the
one.
end, it's just a joke.
So there are reasons
just
why
like
we
seeing the
leave
lulls
these
in the
things
chat.
going for perhaps longer than some people would prefer, because it's how we find out how it's happening. It's how we find out who is doing it, and it's like this. So it's just that's one of those ones where I could see why it's frustrating, but it's actually as actually the process working.
Yeah. So we're tracking exploits across different range of types of exploits, whether they're environment exploits or related to the economy exploits or duping or adjacent duping or mission bypass, things like that. So we're tracing a bunch of those. We're tracking. We have a great team doing this work, by the way, like that support the developers across with all our crazy questions about what, who, and when, and how. And so these guys are doing great supporting us. We did not talk about inventory. We kind of skimmed over it.
Let's talk about inventory,
Well,
please,
we could
because
do
it's a
whole hour on
joke.
inventory. Go right ahead.
Yeah, but so items that are being worked on today, like you mentioned, so inventory becomes unavailable and contents of backpack station loot inventory is empty. So this player reporting, I've lost everything. Well, so from our findings so far, you haven't lost everything. It's really the inventory is not loading it for some reason, and it will come back. Some of the
that's been my
backend
experience.
modifications we've done recently are going to help on that front.
Okay.
When double-clicking an armor item in the inventory and the adjacent armor item is also equipped, that's a regression in 4.8. And so that's a bit of an issue because, click a core armor and installs the...
Not going to lie. When I type in the armor that I'm wearing, that I want to wear, like I type in Morozov, it puts the chest and the backpack on at the same time. I just saved the fucking click. That's not a bug. That's a great feature. I love that shit. It's the best. I was like, oh, this is amazing. They're going together. I was pumped about that one. Now that he's mentioning it being a bug, I'm like, oh shit, that makes sense that it's a bug. But I had to click one less time. That was nice.
helmet that's above. I know the team's working on that.
Yeah,
the
like a
undersuit
quick
icon
set would be
slot in
sick.
the player inventory will be missing after being sent to Kletcher. I think that's by design. No,
I haven't been to Clash.
but yeah, that's an issue. So if you go to prison,
You saying criminals don't deserve
yeah,
undersuits?
there's no undersuits for criminals. But no, I'm joking. So we got to fix that. What else are we looking at here? When
These are
opening the
things that are
inventory and
currently
the
being
player has a
worked on,
lot
by
of
the way.
items, it can be delayed opening it with no items available or missing icons. So icon rendering in the inventory has had a lot of work in 4.8 to
How long is this react
speed
going
up
to be?
the
Over
rendering.
3 hours.
We're still not where we want to be. Like, we've optimized the way the UI is actually rendering them, the way the actual panes is constructed. But now we need to really look at the RTT graphics side of this to make that super snappy. The goal is really, you press I, it's all there. There's no delay at all. And so we're not there yet, but we do want to get there. Now, this is even more pronounced on very large inventories at the moment. So,
Yeah, and if the delay for whatever reason is because we haven't yet been able to populate your snapshot of your inventory, there should be an indicator.
yeah.
I think they just got lost in transits. I know the guys were talking about that.
Yeah.
Spinning icons.
Spinny icons, yeah. Because the state needs to be displayed as well.
Yeah.
That's the key.
The org inventory is pain.
Ideally never happen.
Talk about money transfer.
I mean, the icons have been kind of questionable for years, but you're talking about the recent.
Yes.
The recent. It's
Sent
a
to DM?
different
All right, hold on.
problem with the icons than
correct.
the issues we've had with the icons before.
Right.
It's not about the look. It's about the timings and getting them on screen.
On
like
screen and timing.
like Benoit wants them right
Like
away.
that. There's one more that I want to call out on inventory, which is like there is a the way it's written is item lost when equipped by mouse click, which is a bit crazy, but there's a case
Hell
where
yeah,
items
XLB.
don't
Nice.
end up where you think they end up.
Good for you.
So we people think they're lost. We don't have evidence that they're lost yet, but they
They're
don't
just
go
somewhere
where you're
else.
supposed to go. Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure that is actually the definition of lost.
Lost in
I expect it to be in this place, but it's actually in some place else.
But no, normally it can be found again by doing it again, because it goes where it goes is the same. So your next item will go to the same place, which will then replace that item and either send it back or put it into your hands when you realize this. This is again about the going from the sort of virtual item to the physical item. We put it on you, but like hidden, and then you play out the performance of putting it into your hand from that state, rather than just popping it into your hand.
Yeah.
It's that fragility
Okay.
in the some more complex
scenario.
This
when
is
you
that-
have multiple
animation
async
thing.
systems they have to go through lots of steps.
I didn't go through most of the first hour hardening that we're doing as well, but there's a lot of issues that are being tracked from the first hour of gameplay. Like basically, you're a new player, you come in, what's your first hour of gameplay? So this goes from ship combat behaviors, rubber banding. We talked about server performance here. That definitely is related. Turning off the power and back on the power on the selected starter ships doesn't also turn on the radar.
Power in general,
these
dude.
are things. These are a bit more
That's not
less
starting
critical,
ships.
but critical to the first hour of gameplay, right? So
Like just the power systems are very, very weird, where they just like randomly just assign pips and shit.
that gives you a bit of an idea.
All right. Somebody in the chat. When we were talking about exploits, it's like it would be easier if you told us what an exploit is and isn't, whatever. And I've been thinking about that. It happened like 5 minutes ago, and whatnot. It's sticking in my head because
I mean, that's kind of
it's like,
true.
we can't give a list of exploits because that just draws a bunch of people to those exploits and makes the problem worse.
You can if you have the logging to catch people who use it, right? So like if you say duping is an exploit, that's too random. Let's use like the specific one. What was an exploit recently that was fixed? I don't know, the one where like you could just like change the number on your account, like how much money was in your wallet. Or remember when people were duping the Janelite in their hands? They could say that like doing that is an exploit. Don't do that. If you do that, you will be banned. Right? Or mule duping, yeah, from back in the day, whatever, right? You could just say, if you do this, you will be banned. And then if people do it, you ban them. But you can only do that if you're able to track that they're doing that, which they say they have good tracking, but who knows? And they have banned people
Like
as well.
that's just not something any online game does. And
No, they do.
There's a long established.
They do. I'm pretty sure I've seen it in PoE. I'm pretty sure I've seen it in ARPGs for some reason. Yeah, they literally do.
Established history predates.
He always says, like, I'm pretty sure no games do this, and then they always do it. Face Punch logs all their exploits. Again, like this, guys, I know you guys want to defend Jared, but he does shit like this all the time, where he's just, like, wrong and acts like he knows everything, and he like, literally doesn't. And then he twists and bends things to make it work for CIG when they don't do what they should be doing, or they shouldn't be doing it at this stage because who gives a shit? It's an alpha kind of thing. Like, it's just not something that they should be caring about. And instead of saying that, he says all this other shit to, like, look over there. And you're like, what?
CIG, why you can't do that. And I'm like, and then sometimes I'm known for being a little snarky.
really,
Surprise. And so my brain was like, it's like if you get that little excited feeling in your stomach, like you're getting away with something that somebody would be upset with if they found out about it, that's probably a good indicator.
That's
that it's
probably an exploit. That's true.
And if you don't have that, then I'm like, it's like my brother never had that. So I'm like, that's what I wanted to say. I'm like, no, my little brother never possessed that. So I'm like, well, that's not going to work either. So I don't know, guys. I don't know an effective way of explaining what is an exploit and what isn't an exploit.
You just say what it is, like other studios do, but you may not have to do that in an alpha, or may not want to.
Try to
whatever.
utilize whatever judgment you have. If you don't know, ask a friend. Maybe it's like I said,
It's also kind of weird to say that when they are actively banning people who are doing exploits now. If you're going to actively ban people, you might want to communicate what it is, potentially. Right? Am I crazy in thinking that? I don't know if I'm too crazy in thinking that.
I was all ready with that snarky answer, and then I remembered my own brother would never. Maybe.
It's video games.
Bad person? I don't think so.
There's no morals in video games. It's different.
maybe
Or there's less morals in video games.
I'm way off the
We
reservation.
literally kill each other.
So yeah, everybody, that's our show. I hope. I think about how I want to say this. We threw the old show away. We did a little bit of it here at the end. We did what you just saw was a little bit of what we had in the old show, and whatnot.
Too much Jared.
So I apologize. It's. I hope you don't mind us taking the opportunity to have this conversation with you. Again, this is part of our scheduled stuff. You were here. You're literally. It's not no coincidence that you're over here and right now to do this. It's part of our scheduled stuff that we set out to do. Back at the beginning of 2025.
Yeah, Ben had more to say and he cut him off.
I really appreciate that we get to do this. I really appreciate that you guys take the time to do
tell
this.
us. Yes.
I appreciate that you all will sit through and listen to this. And I mean, I already said everything I need to say before. For those of you who choose not to weaponize it and choose to recognize that we are human beings who will make mistakes, but are on the whole are doing work that I'm incredibly proud of. I appreciate you.
Oh, yes, we appreciate all the YouTubers that don't get angry at anybody and don't ask you guys to be better, and call that weaponizing. Because I know who he's talking about. We all know who he's talking to. There aren't many people like me in the community anymore. So I think it's kind of just me at this point, right? Is there anybody that's still stuck around like me, or have they all just basically fucking given up? I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for getting frustrated. I don't feel bad for calling you out for your bullshit. It's not about making mistakes. It's about the oops, I hit F1. It's about the choice to say certain things. I think, it's about the choice to decide to say things a certain way, perhaps. So yeah, the gaslighting. Thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to say, and I couldn't think of the phrase.
That's it for our show. I think we're back. I have no idea if we're back next week or whatnot, but after that, I will say all of this talk.
Oh, this is a perfect comment, and I'm going to call you out for this. SC Hall, because you're here every day, right? No, I love you, but I got to call you out for this. No, they don't need more frustrated players because I'm tired of hearing you all bitching about every single Twitch chat about how much you hate the game but still play it. Most of the people in this Twitch chat don't play the game, number one. Number two, you come to this Twitch chat. What the fuck do you expect? Number three, we do need more people being vocal about their frustrations about the game because they're using metrics like the numbers going up and playtime going up as their sole reason for ignoring feedback. So that's why we do need more people saying what is their frustrations about the game, their issues with the game. It's also an alpha. We're supposed to say what we're frustrating. And again, if people are complaining, most of them give a shit, like is being said in the chat, where there's others who are obviously just assholes. But
all of this talk.
Most of the people that are here, I assume, resonate with me because they know that I care and they also care. And they're frustrated with what appears to be lack of care from CIG or lack of priority on the things that matter from CIG instead of lack of care.
Right now is meaningless without action.
Yeah.
It is.
No, words don't matter.
We've been on this cadence. If you follow the cadence of patches this year, you should know that 4.9 is scheduled for the middle of July. It was the end of January and the end of March, and then in May we switched to the middle. The next one is June. It follows the same cadence as last year. We just had ones in the middle. Except the cadence has been in place for 18 months now. The next patch is scheduled for the middle of July.
Okay.
I don't have specific answers for you yet, but I know there are conversations going on about whether that should happen or not. Whether 4.9 goes ahead as planned, but we remove content from it. Whether we keep the content in and we push that release back.
Fuck instancing. fuck it. If it's not helping and it only hurts, get it to where it helps. Then we could talk about it. Like, players should be communicating feedback, not constantly like, this just doesn't work. Like, we shouldn't, the QA that happens on a live server should not be, hey, this doesn't work at all. That should never be a thing that happens, right? Ever with us. It should be like, hey, this isn't fun, or hey, this is really fun. That should be the communication we have with the studio, not, buddy, what is this? It doesn't even work.
Further to give it more time to address. The only thing I can
you know what this means? It's already delayed, but they're just not ready to tell us yet. So 4.9's delayed.
confidently comment on right now,
I feel like,
is that the people in this room and the other big decision makers that are having this conversation right now do not want a repeat of what just happened. So we're going to, so through one method or another, whether it's removing content from 4.9 that we don't think is ready, or whether it's pushing 4.9 back until the content is, I don't know which direction we're going to take, but none of what we've talked about today is worth anything without meaningful action. So
does anybody
stay
care?
tuned to find out which direction that goes. Check in with your roadmap roundup, and I'm sure there'll be an announcement from the community team or whatever about which path we go. But that's it. That's our show. Thanks for watching. I'm Jared. That was Benoit. That was Jens. I think your mom was in chat, Jens. There was at least one person here who was like totally in love with you and was like, they should be.
It was me. Jens seems fucking awesome
on the show.
Look at his shirt.
Every week and whatnot. So
I agree.
So,
you should be on the show.
So hi Jens.
Ben's trying to get Jens to replace him on the show.
Mom, I'm assuming. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time, everybody.
All right. I mean, overall, not the worst show I've ever watched, but just, again, too much Jared, not enough tech talk, too much Jared explaining bullshit that nobody cares about or needs to. But yeah, biggest things there, 4.9 probably delayed. Lots of fixes on key issues that we really, really hate. And that might be the reason for the delay for 4.9, and totally fine with it. So lots of you guys are claiming that if this game was just fixed, what we have now, I would have so much fun. I would have so much fun. I don't think that's true. I think you will find how bored you will get and how you will. I've heard this so many times. There's no progression. There's no economy. There's no game really to play there. It's like very much a test track for spaceships and things like that. And you may have some fun, but you will eventually find yourself quite bored quite quickly. Bugs actually make the playtime go up. That's the other funny thing about Jared's fucking silly statement about playtime, is now that the server doesn't crash, we do the workaround, and so what would normally take 20 minutes takes an hour and 20 minutes because of bug workarounds. And then their numbers go up and they think they're doing a great job. Meanwhile, the game's filled with fucking bugs that we're working around. But yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see. But that's what all you guys want. Delay content for fixes. It's not what I want. I don't care if the game's completely unstable and completely unplayable at this stage. I think they need to smash every feature in possible. And I think we need to be able to see that the content that they're putting in the game is fun and communicate that to them. But it's obviously hard to do that when your inventory doesn't work. You can't get on a server and so on and so forth. So I understand that initiative for right now, of course. Yeah. And like Bun is saying, there's a balance to be had. But with that, way too long of a react. 3 hours and 8 minutes. Probably the longest one we've had in a while. Ben's are always long, but yeah. And I'm sorry if I offended you about how I talk to Jared or whatever. I just don't care anymore. I have no relationship with anybody at the company outside of the developers who actually work on the game, and the people who don't, who are constantly defending bad decisions, I don't have any time for anymore. So sorry if I offend you, but I just don't care. And I want the game to be as good as possible before I fucking die. And I don't think that's going to happen. So we got to try something here. And I just don't care anymore. I have nobody to care about. They don't. I have no relationship with them, and will never have a relationship with them. So I am just going to speak my mind, right? So, yep.